Football players in the country are inside the Alamo Dome. Each one is an All-American. A handful are the top-ranked players at their position. Most have signed their letters of intent. Some will declare during the game. It's the All-American Bowl, where the stars of tomorrow take center stage today.
Lightning strikes so quickly.
It can be hard to spot if you're not paying attention.
The same could be said for talent.
It can flash before your eyes for more than a quarter of a century.
We've witnessed those flashes on this field,
like the pair of award-winning quarterbacks
Sidestepping the pressure.
who threw darts down the field here and are now doing it here.
Oh my, touchdown!
A lineman from Michigan first started making quarterbacks' lives miserable here
Hutchinson once again.
before becoming a rookie sensation here.
The biggest players and on the biggest things.
with lightning, you never know exactly where it will strike.
But it helps knowing where to look. So prepare for greatness to strike in San Antonio.
Because the stars, soon to be lighting the field on Sundays,
Are about to flash before your eyes today.
Oh, it just feels like home here in San Antonio inside the Alamo Dome in early January. We're set to do it again. Best against best. It's East against West in the 23rd All-American Bowl. Thanks for being with us. I'm Paul Burmeister. It is fitting that this extended football weekend that concludes the NFL's regular season and also has the College Football National Championship begins right here with the All-American Bowl. Because our game has always been about getting to know all those stars you'll soon be watching on fall Saturdays and Sundays. And, of course, getting to hear some declarations. We have 8 of them on the schedule here this afternoon or this morning, depending on where you're watching. The roster, absolutely stacked, and the resume of this game, truly remarkable, gets better every single year. Since it started, all the hopefuls, or hundreds that have come inside the dome, have gone away to go on and become stars and household names. How about the ways you can measure success? Heisman Trophy, the last 3 winners all played right here in San Antonio. NFL Draft, the last 2 first overall picks, they played here. 27 first-rounders in the last 3 years got their start on the big stage right here. As for those declarations, we have 8 of them, a couple of firsts, class of 24, some juniors, 2 of them will declare. We've never seen that. Bottom line, you are never going to be far away from the next declaration throughout the next 3 hours. Once again, my partner here for the 12th consecutive year, former NFL defensive end Anthony Herron. We're very used to this situation. In a way, the games feel the same, but in a way, each class is different. What stands out this year?
Well, we do show up here to San Antonio every year. We marvel at how these players get bigger, stronger, and faster season after season. But this year's group stands out to me, Paul, because not only what's happening on the field, but you think about how the timeline is so different now. That December signing period, like you referenced, all these guys have signed, most of them at least on the dotted line, so they don't have as much to prove today as they normally would, but they all decided to show up and compete against the best.
100 were invited. Somebody has to be the highest-ranked player in the game, and that is UCLA, not Oregon quarterback Dante Moore. Created quite a stir last month when he flipped from the Ducks to the Bruins.
And he is a spectacular talent on the field, but getting to talk to him throughout the week here, really struck by the maturity, by the comfort, but still the passion for the game comes through every time you actually watch him play, and the talents are immense. I mean, he's got an arm that can hit every blade of grass on the field, and one of these modern, multi-dimensional talents for the quarterback position.
Before we get to see him play, we get to hear from him. He's on the sideline right now with Marty Snyder.
Well, as you guys mentioned, Dante, certainly the talk of the recruiting world lately with the flip to UCLA. So I'm curious, Dante, how much was UCLA's move to the Big Ten a factor in that decision?
Really, UCLA going to the Big Ten, of course, even me going through my recruiting process was all a true blessing, but UCLA going to the Big Ten, that's a lot of national exposure. Like, I talked to Cam and I had many phone calls with Cam, and he really said that going into the college level, national exposure is probably one of the biggest things, and I really took that in. I'm really blessed to get back into the Midwest, and so a lot of my family come see the games.
The Cam you mentioned is Cam Newton, a mentor of yours. You're the quarterback on the 7-on-7 team. How big of a factor has he been getting you to this point?
Right, these past couple months when we first met each other, it hasn't even been more about football. He's really just teaching me how to be, a young black man, and really just how to carry myself and really, have myself, proper to media and everything like that. But I really appreciate him. I appreciate all my past trainers and everybody I've trained with, and really Cam's a really special person, man. I really appreciate it.
All right, have fun today, man.
Thank you so much.
All right, so Cam Newton is his mentor, Paul. He also models his game after Trevor Lawrence. 2 number 1s. It's not a bad place to start, is it?
Marty, pretty good place to start. You're talking about 5-star, the highest possible recruits. Alabama with the #1 class, they have 7 5-stars in this class. Going to be a lot of fun to watch 2 of them literally go head-to-head here today.
That's really a ridiculous number when you think about it, and the talent we'll see on the field is ridiculous. Starting on the left with the #1 edge in the nation this year, Keon Keeley. He plays the game with a tenacity that teeters on the brink of sheer bedlam. You will see him in the opposing backfield, and occasionally he may be matched up with his future Crimson Tide teammate Caden Proctor, a mountain of a young man who has all the balance, all the control you would want a great offensive tackle to have. So we'll watch closely to see if they match up today.
And we are lucky to have someone with us who thinks about recruiting, lives it every single day. He's Brendan Huffman. He is the national recruiting editor for 24/7. And take it away with more on the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Yeah, you guys, last year the conversation was all about the coaching carousel. This year it's about stability. Stability in Tuscaloosa has been a theme for the last 15 years. And this year the Tide signed the highest rated class that Nick Saban has ever signed since he's been the head coach at Alabama. They are #1. They are not going to lose that spot. They have 7 players that are 5-stars in the composite. They have 14 players in the top 100. 3 players in this game are the #1 ranked player at their position. You mentioned Keeley and Proctor, as well as Caleb Downs, the #1 safety in the country. Multiple players are the top-rated players in their respective states. But any people that were questioning if the dominant era in Tuscaloosa was over, I think Nick Saban answered that question. He's not going anywhere, and the recruits continue to go to Alabama to go play for one of the greatest coaches in the history of the sport.
Brandon, thank you. And while we are excited for the game, we're also fully aware that watching football just 5 days after the frightening scene we all saw in that Bills-Bengals game just won't feel the same. Here's public address announcer Milton Pope.
Thank you for being here today. Our thoughts continue to be with Buffalo Bills football player Damar Hamlin and his family after the events this past Monday night in Cincinnati. Damar's progress has been remarkable as we learned that he had the chance to speak with his Bills teammates yesterday. At this time, we ask that you please direct your attention to the field as the players show their unified support for Buffalo Bills safety Damar Hamlin. Thank you. Damar Hamlin and his family are...
Mikael Harrison Pilot, Temple, Texas, wide receiver. What can I say? I'm a catch. But what scores caught my eye? I'm about to tell you.
Yes, the first declaration belongs to Mikael Harrison Pilots. Lewis Johnson, take it away.
All right, Paul, thanks very much. And let the declarations begin for 2023. All right, here he is, Mikael Harrison Pilot, a wide receiver for playing for the West today out of Temple High School in Temple, Texas. And we call them student athletes, right? Well, this guy is a great student, a member of the National Honor Society. In terms of athletics, my goodness, he can play quarterback, wide receiver, defensive back. Oh, and we can't forget about baseball and track and field. You do it all. All righty. Now, the Texas schools are after him, and we're going to find out what's going to happen in just a moment. Look at this family, huge family who are here to support him today. We got Mikael's dad, Chris, who's here. His mom is here, Brittany, bonus mom, Jennifer is here, and a big group of brothers and sisters, but the one who's going to represent them all is right there in the black sweatshirt. That's Jet Pilot. Love that name, Jet Pilot. All right. So we know it's been a long journey for you, Mikael, and we've got the hats right here. So let's kick this thing off for 2023. We've got Cal, Houston, Oklahoma, Texas, and TCU. Where are you playing your college football?
Well, first, I want to thank God for everything. You know, I want to thank everybody right here for supporting me. My West Side teammates over there, you know, all my coaches. But, yeah, hey, Jet, tell them where we're going. Get it. University of Houston.
Jet made the pick. Why don't you give that to your brother, Jet? The University of Houston now has a great wide receiver and a great athlete. All right, now this is very interesting because if I'm not mistaken, your dad played linebacker there. So did his play have any effect on your decision?
Yes, sir, it did. It really did. Just because, you know, I want to finish something that he started, you know. So now I'm here, you know, I chose him, and that's why I chose him.
Incredible. We also understand. Oh, look at this. Is that Jennifer there who was a cheerleader? We got all the photos, Jennifer. How about seeing your stepmom there?
That's funny. That's just, man, it's like all young, just look happy, that's why they met together. I got to start my legacy there, so.
And you had so many offers in the state. How did you manage all that to get to this decision and this moment finally?
Just kind of sitting down, talking to my parents, just kind of sitting to myself too. But now, I came down, went from 12 to 5, and now we're here, made my decision. So it was all fun, but now, it was about that time that I made my decision.
Excellent. It's time to play some football. You ready?
Yes, sir, I'm ready.
We'll see him out on the field in just a moment, guys. Mikael Harrison-Pilot headed to Houston.
Louis, Mikael, thank you. Great family scene there to get us started. Game rules, and Anthony, I'm going right to the second one, no blitzes. How soon do you think we might see a blitz?
It's probably going to happen.
Rules are set up for the offenses to excel, so we're excited to watch all the playmakers, both sides of the ball, get it going here. The 23rd All-American Bowl. Who has the most players here? Ohio State Buckeyes had 7 invited to the roster. Alabama, LSU, and Notre Dame with 5. Here we go. Nathaniel Joseph from Miami and Jaylen Brown from Miami back deep. Short kickoff returned out to the 36-yard line. And a good start here for the East offense. And Dante Moore, we talked with Marty before the game. Anthony and I talked about him for very good reason. Highest rated player in this game. Only quarterback ranked ahead of him in this class is Arch Manning. 5-star quarterback, Mr. Football in Michigan out of Detroit. 2-time state champion, and for months, Anthony, we thought he was going to Oregon. Not quite the last minute, but close to the last minute. After a coaching change, he decided that UCLA would be the best fit. Signed with Chip Kelly and the Bruins on December 21st.
It's a marvelous talent for the position, Paul. Both the tangibles that he brings to the table, we will see those in a moment, but also the intangible. Really impressive to talk to him throughout this week.
Talked about Alabama having 7 5-stars. That's the running back to the left and carrying the ball, Nathaniel Joseph out of Miami, and he's not going far to school. He'll play for Mario Cristobal with the Hurricanes, and they've had a tremendous recruiting class in spite of a losing record this fall.
That's one of the things that coaches, especially in the modern phase of the game now, they can continue to recruit not only from the high school level, but certainly in the transfer portal. And Dante Moore, flipping his recruitment late. It's interesting with Chip Kelly, obviously such a legacy that he left at Oregon, able to nab one of the Ducks prize recruits to bring him to UCLA.
Dante Moore, first pass, flips it out wide. That's Parnell Tate from Ohio State. Made his way from Chicago to IMG in Florida, but a lifelong Buckeye fan. And Dante Moore, you mentioned the legacy that Chip Kelly has with quarterbacks. And Dante talked with us about how much it meant what Chip Kelly did with Marcus Mariota when he was in Eugene.
And to be able to develop in that regard, one of those things is the post-snap decision-making in the RPO system, but also the throwing motion, just to make sure that all of his skills are refined. And he was really impressed, he told us, with the way that Chip Kelly was able to start Dorian Thompson-Robinson very early in his career, and season by season, DTR got better at the position under Chip Kelly's tutelage.
See the pocket fundamentals, and that is a bullet, a strike to the 35-yard line. 20 yards downfield to Brandon Inniss, another future Ohio State Buckeye.
Every year, there's multiple Buckeyes in this game at the receiver position. It's a credit to the way they operate as a program, but a clean pocket right here and very decisive throw. That's one of the things that really impresses me with Dante Moore, is that he gets through his read progression extremely quickly, and he's got a quick, sharp release. Of course, Brandon Inniss, what he brings to the table. Ohio State fans very excited about his skills.
You know what else Dante did there? You see that subtle? He looked to the left, looked the safety off, and helped a lot. In trouble this time, hit in the face, knocked down, and yeah, he gets a penalty marker.
Oh, you noticed that the quarterback got hit in the face?
Yeah, sometimes you pick that up. Yonze Pierre, who will play at Alabama, went a little high there.
One-on-one with the quarterback. Dante Moore, very athletic.
Personal foul, roughing the passer. Number 19, defense.
Yonze Pierre ends up coming off the edge.
15-yard penalty, automatic
One-on-one with Moore,
first down.
You have to make sure. I mean, even at the high school level, that's certainly a flag. But at the collegiate level, that's one of those that can end up drawing even an additional disqualification, perhaps. So he's got to really be careful with those types of fouls.
Yeah, we've heard a lot about how Yonze Pierre has been a problem all week.
Right. It's not the last time we'll see him in the backfield, I'm sure.
Alabama well represented here in this game. Brandon talked to us before the game. You heard him, the top recruiting class in the nation. In the backfield there, Justice Haynes, and also tight end Pierce Spurlin III will play at Georgia. Right at the middle, Justice Haynes. You'll see that in Tuscaloosa, already heavy Alabama flavor. And an Oklahoma Sooner on the tackle, Samuel Omosigo with a stop.
I like the way Justice Haynes runs the football. He's really decisive. He'll press the hole, but does have, home run capable speed. As soon as he gets the football in his hands, you see him accelerate to top gear really quickly.
And Georgia had 2 5-stars in state. They're both on their way to Alabama. There's Hayes again, right up the middle, literally lifted off his feet as he got inside the 10 and pushed back. First one there once again. It's Omosigo out of Crandall, Texas. He'll go north to Norman to play college football.
This battle on the line of scrimmage you'll see throughout the day, and the positional versatility of the players, not only at the defensive front, but the linebacker position. You'll likely see a couple of guys who are qualified as that edge defender who may sometimes have their hand in a 3-point stance, but at other times they'll play from a 2-point stance.
Pat Henry, tight end, now joins Haynes in the backfield. Henry on his way to Clemson. A little trouble with the exchange there, and Dante Moore jumps on it at the 11-yard line. All-star game with the center and the running back. You expect to see a couple exchange and transition issues like that.
And especially the mesh point, or even once you receive the ball as a quarterback, you haven't necessarily been working with these individuals you're in the backfield with very long. That's where Dante Moore, he was eyeing the edge defender, perhaps considering a keep. But that's where, the footwork, the precision, just being a hair off in this all-star game environment. Not surprising that that's not clean at the mesh.
Moore from the shotgun, quickly gets rid of it, had the ball tipped at the 10-yard line as he was looking for the quick slant to his left, and now he'll have 3rd and goal.
Really good read from Anthony Hill at the linebacker position, breaking on that route, but turning the corner. This defensive front starting to get lathered up, getting some heat on the pocket. Samson Okunlola, a player very talented in there at left tackle right now. But Okunlola is a player who, he's one of the more physically gifted tackles in the country. He's not as technically refined as some of the other guys rated slightly higher.
Ball tipped there, by the way, by Anthony Hill Jr., #1 ranked linebacker in the nation, who's on his way to Texas. Moore now on 3rd down from the 20, fires over the middle, touchdown East. And he was knocked down in the process. Hits Jaylen Brown, the future LSU Tiger. And a couple of shining moments there for the top-rated player in this game on the first drive. Dante Moore, a little grimace and a smile after the TD toss.
UCLA fans, they're going to hope he's not under this type of duress during his collegiate career, but you do see the moxie of a young football player with multiple oncoming rushers delivering a strike into the end zone.
I'm surprised to see him playing big in a big spot, 2-time state champion. Threw 4 touchdown passes in the state title game this year. Has his first in the All-American Bowl. And the kick is up and in. Jaylen Brown celebrates a touchdown. UCLA fans, that's going to be on campus on Monday. Dante Moore will go from San Antonio to Westwood while Jaylen Brown celebrates. The All-American Bowl is brought to you by Visit San Antonio. Plan your trip at visitsanantonio.com. By Adidas. Adidas, the official provider of footwear and apparel. Follow the fastest family in football on Instagram and Twitter at Adidas FBall US for more. And by PNC, committed to helping the customers and the communities they serve move forward financially. See how they can make a difference for you at PNC.com. Some of the NFL stars that got their start here, Trevor Lawrence, I feel like we were just watching him play in San Antonio, and now we're watching him blossom with the Jacksonville Jaguars, especially recently. Jaylen Brown just caught that touchdown pass on his way to LSU. Brian Kelly actually started that relationship with Jaylen while he was in South Bend. It continued, and now the two will reunite very soon in Baton Rouge. Okay, so Dante Moore, the quarterback, rated #1 here on this field. There we see he'll take a rest. Good start to his game with that touchdown pass to Jaylen Brown. Next quarterback up is Pierce Clarkson. He'll play at Louisville. Committed to Louisville in January. Signed in December. Now, there was a little bit of tumult there with the coaching change, but right away he connected with Jeff Brom. He committed to coming out and see him days after he left the job at Purdue, and he's looking forward to playing for him in Louisville.
If you're a quarterback and you want a coach who can call plays to set you up for success, Jeff Brom is certainly one of the top ways to go. He has been as successful as anyone in throwing the football.
Ruben Owens, the tailback, he pitches, and another issue there in the back. The ball on the ground and inside the 10. It looks like the East pounced on it. West wanted to start with that wide receiver reverse. Ball ended up on the ground, and the East recovers. Whit Weeks, speaking of LSU, that's a future Tiger, and he comes up with a fumble.
We spoke to Ruben Owens. He was telling us he had a desire to be the one actually in position to throw this pass if they went with a double reverse. They tried to get it to Mikhail Harrison-Pilot to catch the defense off guard. But again, all-star week. You haven't repped these things very much. The precision it takes to execute. Really credit to the East to be able to take advantage defensively.
Harrison-Pilot still excited by celebrating with his family. We just heard him say he's going to Houston to follow in his dad's footsteps.
That pitch from Owens might have came in just a bit hot.
It was definitely a little bit hot. Dante Moore back in at quarterback. Tailback now is Mark Fletcher, who will play at Miami. Moore has one touchdown toss. Will he have two? And the answer is yes. This time it is Brandon Inniss, the future Buckeye.
Dante Moore reading this matchup immediately at the snap of the football, knowing that he's got a very talented wideout one-on-one and all that space available to him towards the corner. So that's the precision you're hoping for, not only in an all-star week, but at any point where you're throwing a player open. If he throws it too short, there's an opportunity for the defender, Micah Bell, to make a play on the football there, but he takes advantage of the green grass towards the back pylon.
UCLA and Ohio State connecting there, and they'll connect on the football field with in-conference games coming up. The Bruins and the Buckeyes.
2024.
To see that often. Brandon Inniss, I was on the elevator with his mom a little bit earlier today, and she said he felt like he had to go to Ohio State because a wide receiver coach, Brian Hartline, said that is the guy that made him feel like, you know what? I already like it there. I have to play for this guy.
There's not a wide receiver recruiter in the country who's been as successful over the last handful of years as Brian Hartline. When you factor in all the different talent he's been able to bring in to Columbus, Carnell Tate, and Brandon Inniss in this game today, perhaps the best combination of receivers in America going to one institution, and Hartline has been one of these names that's been on the tip of everyone's tongue for how he's been able to, an Ohio State program that's been uber successful for decades now, but it's evolved between Ryan Day and Brian Hartline, the quarterback position and the wide receiver position, boosting that Buckeye offense to another level.
Yeah, if only the Buckeyes had some talented receivers, it might be able to win a little bit in the fall, right? And for more on Ohio State and their recruiting, let's bring Brandon back.
Yeah, if you look at the recruiting class that Ohio State has had, it's a top 10 class, but what has made this class special, what's made the previous few classes special, is that wide receiver room. Brian Hartline, since he has been there, has been just an elite level recruiter, bringing in players like Jackson Smith-Njigba, Julian Fleming. He was able to sign last year with Marvin Harrison, Emeka Egbuka, two of the best receivers in college football, and now coming back with Carnell Tate and Brandon Inniss. That's one of the most competitive receiver rooms in the country, where you have guys that are leaving Ohio State because they can't even get on the field, and then winning the Biletnikoff like Jameson Williams did. That's the level of recruiting, that's the level of talent and the level of development that Hartline's been able to do since he's been in Columbus.
The long side kick, it's not going to cooperate, go 10 yards. It stopped at 8. And so the West will have a chance now, already down 14-0 to dig themselves out of that hole. A couple of touchdown passes from the future UCLA Bruin, Dante Moore already.
Needs to go 10 yards. The presence of mind in fielding the football, not forcing the issue. It just checked up a little bit too early.
It was on its way. Okay, so West down a couple of touchdowns. And they have made a change of quarterback. They only have 42 yards to go. Right up the middle with the ground game. Austin Novosad is the quarterback, and that was Ruben Owens, #1 tailback in the nation. So Austin Novosad, interesting story, was committed to Baylor for nearly a year, but he flipped to Oregon. The ripple effect. Dante Moore goes from Oregon to UCLA, and he ends up, instead of staying close to home, Dripping Springs, Texas, about an hour away from here, and being a Baylor Bear, he's going north to play for Oregon. First pass for Novosad, and off the fingertips at the 35-yard line of his intended receiver, Mikhail Harrison-Pilot. He just told us he's going to Houston.
You think about the Oregon offense that Austin Novosad would be on the way to. they made the transition. Will Stein comes in as the new offensive coordinator there for Dan Lanning. Stein and Novosad already had a relationship, not only from being recruited at UTSA, where Will Stein initially was, but way back even in high school, where Will Stein was a high school coach and Novosad went to some of his football camps.
They had some private lessons with him as well. Goes to his left, and that one's knocked down. Back-to-back incompletions, but that relationship started, as you mentioned, all the way back in 7th grade. And when we talked to him, we spent about a half hour with him. It was clear the #1 reason he flipped from Baylor to Oregon was Will Stein.
I mean, relationships are obviously so key in recruiting, but then maintaining those relationships that you may develop with a prospect at a young age, or even with the transfer portal now, that you might have developed recruiting him to one school, and then later on, once a player hits the portal, maybe that advantage and that relationship ends up playing into your favor.
#1 punter in this class, Tyler White, on his way to Texas A&M. High end-over-end punts. Go inside the 5, see if that one checks up as well, and that one just snuck into the end zone. Yes, it did. When we come back, our second declaration, Caden Jones will take his sizable talent and those 18 shoes to somewhere in Texas or Florida. He'll tell us exactly where, coming up next.
Caden Jones, New Orleans, left tackle. Spotlight's going to be on me and my decision next.
Boy, I just wish Caden Jones had a little size to work with. At 6'8", 330, he is a massive offensive tackle, and he is down to these schools. We have the entire family here. Mom Maya, stepdad Will, little brother Will as well, and Uncle Marcus Jasmine. He played at Texas A&M and for the Detroit Lions as well. So, Caden, you're down to Houston, Florida, and Texas A&M. Where are you going to play football?
Well, first, I want to thank the man above and my family, because I wouldn't be in this position without them. Where we going, bro?
We going to the University of Florida. How about that? So what did you see in Billy Napier's program that made you want to go to Florida?
I can see the future, and his program is headed the right way, and that's where I want to be.
All right, so we mentioned Uncle Marcus here, who really worked you this summer. He was a former defensive lineman. How has he helped you in your progression?
Well, him and his program, Big Man University, helped me a lot. We helped with my kick step and my run block.
There you go. So he's headed to the University of Florida. Paul, I think we ought to let Billy Napier know now. Size 18 shoes. He may want to order those right now.
He also had the largest hands here, which to me, Anthony, just means he can hang on to defensive ends like you even better.
And I mean, those extremely long arms, you love those in an offensive tackle to stop a defender from being able to get into your body and try to maneuver his rush.
Ball from inside the 1-yard line, direct snap to Justice Haynes, future Alabama running back. So it's always fun as Caden Jones celebrates in the sideline to watch these 4- or 5-star offensive linemen work against high school defensive linemen.
And Marty referenced his mammoth size. I mean, the length of the arms are outstanding in pass protection. Now, size 18 feet, if you don't move those very well, then that could be an issue. But he moves extremely well for a young man of his massive size. He was a basketball star, continues to be a basketball star at this point in his development. He's actually going to finish out his senior basketball season before reporting to Gainesville.
Yeah, why not continue that celebration? He's spent the last 4 months going back and forth between A&M and Florida. Now all smiles heading to Florida. And about that basketball career, double-double, by the way, he averaged last year. 15 and 10, says he plays a lot like Shaq.
I mean, if you're going to model your game after anyone as a big man, might as well be one of the greatest, Shaquille O'Neal. But you did see the development of Caden Jones progress each season of his high school career.
New quarterback, that's Aiden Childs from Southern California, who will play at Oregon State. Finds Rodney Gallagher. He'll make the 30-minute trip from Uniontown, Pennsylvania to Morgantown, West Virginia to be a Mountaineer. Loved chatting with Aiden Childs. Let's start with the fact that he's the highest ranked quarterback to sign with Oregon State since Derek Anderson all the way back in 2001.
It's a great program that Jonathan Smith has been developing here. Brian Lindgren is offensive coordinator. It's a great system that they've put in place out there. And Aiden Childs, I was talking about how impressive the demeanor of Dante Moore is. Aiden Childs reminds me a lot of C.J. Stroud, who was here in this game a few years ago.
Run up the middle. That is Mark Fletcher. future Miami Hurricane, brought down by Florida State. Get a Seminole on a Hurricane there. Blake Nicholson with the stop. And Brandon, I'd like to bring you back in here. Anthony mentioned what a late bloomer Childs has been, comparing him to C.J. Stroud. What did you see in him, especially in his senior season at Downey High School in Southern California?
Aidan Childs was able to do as a junior, and then the jump he made to a senior year, he was overshadowed the last couple of years by Malachi Nelson and Nico Iamaleava, both top 10 players nationally. Not unlike C.J. Stroud was overshadowed by DJ Uiagalelei and Bryce Young. But as seniors, they both just took their games to another level. Aidan has come out this week with a lot of confidence, showing the live arm that he's got. Like you guys mentioned, he's the highest-rated player, the highest-rated quarterback that Jonathan Smith has ever signed at Oregon State, the highest-rated player since Derek Anderson, who played in this game over 20 years ago, had a long NFL career. But Aidan Childs, this is a kid, he didn't even turn 17 until September of his senior year. A very bright future for him in Corvallis.
Go to the sideline and check in with Marty.
Yeah, Paul, and to add on Aidan Childs, he broke his throwing arm in his junior year, had surgery, 2 metal plates, 8 screws. It was a 3-month recovery, and he admitted to us that he was honestly depressed during that time. Couldn't go to practices, couldn't go to games, and he said, but now I'm thankful it happened. Now I know it's not all about me. I was very selfish before. It was all about my stats, but now I'm a much better teammate for having gone through an injury like that. And Anthony, I'm sure you know from your NFL days, that can happen, right? You can learn a lot when you're not on the field.
Without a doubt, Marty. And, you know, to be a young man, I was in a very similar situation. Turned 17 late in my senior season of high school. So not only the physical development that still matures, but the emotional development that's a huge part of being a quarterback at the next level. And Brandon mentioned DJ Uiagalelei. He's already hit the transfer portal, is on his way to Oregon State. And so there'll be a player who was on this field a few seasons ago who's already been through, you know, some trials and tribulations at the collegiate level that Aidan will be able to go and learn from and compete with.
3rd down and 4, complete. And see if that ball was stretched out across the mark there by Pierce Spurlin III, who'll play at Georgia. And it's going to be awfully close. It's right at the line to gain. Being a tight end at Georgia, not a bad thing, by the way.
I mean, we were talking about Ohio State's development at the receiver position as a program. Georgia's been outstanding for a long time as well, but the tight end position is a huge key in the way their program has continued to develop. And now, season after season, we see All-American Bowl participants on their way to Athens to be a part of that Georgia offense. It's become one of the deeper tight end rooms in the country.
Aidan Childs was a 5'8" freshman at Los Alamitos High School. Now 6'4" after a tremendous senior season. Home run shot down the right side. And that's a little bit too much. And intended for Jaden Skeets, Boston College. Haven't had a player headed to BC in a while. He's going to be close to home from West Roxbury, Massachusetts. But Aidan Childs, I thought he had a really nice sense of humor when we talked to him. I said, how does one get from San Antonio to Corvallis? Because he said he's going right there, and he goes, you fly.
I mean, it's accurate.
He said he will go, the specifics, he's going to go from San Antonio to San Francisco, catch a connecting flight to Portland, then make the hour-and-a-half drive to Corvallis, and classes start Monday morning.
Aidan Childs is a good example to me as well of how people on the outside tend to view recruiting as this myopic thing where they're all interested in the same factors.
And Childs over the middle, that's Rodney Gallagher. Second catch on his way to West Virginia. Go ahead.
I think that Childs is a great example of a player who, as he was this late riser and got so many different offers from programs all around the country, Power 5 and you know, programs who are in the college football playoff picture. But Childs, once he visited Corvallis, said, you know what, this is what I'm looking for. That's the type of program with limited glitz and glamour by comparison to some of these other programs that he felt like he wanted to go and be a part of.
Tripped wideouts to his left, and he goes up the middle to Justice Haynes. Good spin out of a tackle. Out near the 35. He fumbled the football, and the West gets on it. Second fumble recovery we have seen. Justice Haynes up the middle, upset with himself. And the West will take over. See the ball come out right there after a nice spin move. This is the All-American Bowl. More 5 stars, more declarations coming up.
To you, it may just...
It's a Premier League Derby weekend on USA as well as Peacock. Next Saturday, 7:30 a.m. on USA. It's the Manchester Derby. Then next Sunday at 11:30 a.m., the North London Derby is on Peacock. Man City chasing Arsenal right now. Looking good top of the table. Welcome back inside the Alamo Dome from the Alamo. Late first quarter, new quarterback. The all-time leading passer in the state of South Dakota, Lincoln Kienholz, who will play in Ohio State, tackled in the backfield right there. And thinking about the passing game, Josh Downs, excellent player at North Carolina, played right here on this field recently. His brother Caleb Downs is safety in this game before he plays in Alabama. And Lewis Johnson is on the sideline right now with Josh.
Yeah, a great story about siblings coming to this game, the All-American Bowl. And so, Josh, what's it like now to see your brother here playing in this game that you played in back in 2020?
Man, it's truly an honor and a blessing, man. I got to thank God. I mean, just seeing my little brother just thrive and be great and kind of follow my footsteps a little bit and just get out here to this game is great. And, I mean, guys like Eric Richards, he's been with us since we were kids. So he's like family. I mean, he's helped us get to this point. And I mean, just seeing my little brother here, family, it kind of brings tears in my eyes.
I can just imagine. Okay, so he decided to go play for Nick Saban at Alabama. What are your thoughts on that?
Like he said, he wanted to play for the best. And I mean, in my opinion, he's the best player in America. I've seen this since he was 6 years old. So playing for Nick Saban is right up his alley. He's a hard worker, real blue chip guy, even though he's real talented. And he's going to put it in from day one.
You know, you have an amazing athletic family, and Josh, Caleb shared something with us yesterday that I want to share with everybody else. I asked him how was he inspired by the family, and he said, from your father, he got his intensity. He said from your sister Cameron, who was a soccer player, it was all about getting over adversity. She made it through 2 ACLs, another big play on the field. Your uncle, Dre Bly, he said he always loves to have fun, he gets that. And he said from you, the willingness to compete. What does it mean to know that the family's inspired him in such a great way?
I'd say, I mean, it goes right up the alley. I mean, we love family. That's a big thing for us. And then the fact that he said he's just learned the will to compete for me, it means a lot because, I mean, I'm a smaller guy, as you can see. But every time I went out there against the best, I mean, I gave my best. And at the end of the day, I showed that I was pretty much better than anyone out there. So the fact that my little brother learned that from me and then my sister going through 2 ACLs, I seen it firsthand. And, I mean, she battled and battled, knee surgery after knee surgery, just keep being able to go. And then so it's just a blessing knowing that my little brother just looks up to me, my sister, my dad, and my mom, and just takes it out there on the field for himself.
Well, Josh, enjoy watching your little brother play today, and we wish you the best of luck as you declare for the NFL, and we look forward to seeing you on Sundays.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Great family story, guys.
Sure is, Lewis. Josh, back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons at North Carolina, and his brother, not just any 5-star, he was voted the Player of the Year last night. They are super excited to have him going to Tuscaloosa.
With good reason, and that thought of competing against the best, being coached by the best, a huge factor for several recruits here on the field in their perception of Alabama.
We saw Quentin Joyner moments ago while Lewis was talking to Josh go down the left sideline for a big game. The future USC Trojan has it again, tackled in the backfield, this time by Whit Weeks, who is on his way to LSU. So Lincoln Kienholz is the new quarterback. Longtime commit to Washington. Mentioned he's from South Dakota. Washington head coach Kalen DeBoer, also a South Dakota native. They had quite a connection, but as he continued to play so well his senior season, Ohio State started calling. Ohio State came to a game like what they saw, and in the end, Lincoln flipped to the Buckeyes. Completion out to the 25. Good move out toward the sideline across the 20 by Ryan Niblett. In the future, he'll be catching passes in Austin from Arch Manning.
And the depth of the QB room in Columbus has really become the stuff of legend when you think back to even their national championship season, going down to their 3rd string quarterback. But year after year with the transfer portal, it's really important, and it has at times become different, just where there's roster attrition where some guys show up, they don't play right away, maybe they move on. But you know, Lincoln Kienholz being willing to go to Columbus, wanting to compete against the best, and an exceptional athlete. You saw in the graphic there, a star in multiple sports, not just football. I love multi-sport athletes, Paul.
No blitz allowed, Big Ant, but the blitz got home. Screen pass to the 20. Quentin Joyner upended by Malik Hartford, who will play at Ohio State. Future Buckeyes everywhere, and a flag on the field as well.
Personal foul, roughing the passer, number 97, defense. Penalty, of course, half the distance. Automatic, first down.
No shortage.
Keon Keeley, you talked about him in the open, highest ranked edge rusher in the nation. Flipped from Notre Dame to Alabama.
No shortage of intensity on the field. Keon Keeley, one of these guys, throughout the practice week, he talked to us about the fact that he doesn't necessarily have a lot to prove resume-wise, but really wanted to come out and measure himself against the best players on the field.
Quentin Joyner thought about the right side, back up the middle to the 7-yard line. Once again, he will join Raleek Brown. We saw him in the game last year, and Caleb Williams in the USC backfield when he gets to campus. 2 declarations in the books. That's Mikhail Harrison-Pilot. He's on his way to Houston. Big Caden Jones will play for the Gators for declarations and the second quarter after the break.
San Antonio Mayor Ron Nirenberg. We're proud to be the annual host of the All-American Bowl, and we always look forward to showcasing a great event. In addition to the game, San Antonio offers so much more. Our world-famous Alamo, Riverwalk, and wonderful family attractions are all part of a unique experience. So we look forward to seeing you in San Antonio.
And we look forward to coming back same time next year. Right now, we're all set for the second quarter, the 23rd All-American Bowl. East, couple of touchdown passes from the top-ranked player in this game, future UCLA Bruin, Dante Moore. This is Lincoln Kienholz, the quarterback who's on his way to Columbus, longtime Washington commit. Will not report to Columbus this spring, as so many quarterbacks do. Multi-sport athlete, all-state in basketball and baseball, wants to finish that in high school. In trouble, tries to spin out. Yes, he does. Eyes downfield. Sets himself up, flips it into the end zone. A wonderful catch, but it's in the back of the end zone, out of bounds. Quite an effort there by Jamari Johnson. 6'5", 250 tight end, and he'll have his declaration in the second half.
It starts off with an incredible effort by Kienholz to reverse pivot, spin, keep his eyes down the field, and then he knows he's got this statuesque target in Jamari Johnson towards the back of the end zone. Jamari Johnson's highlight film is full of grabs like that, going up top, high-pointing the football. Just narrowly missed that one.
And he walks off the field now. Hopefully Jamari's okay. That was a high school quarterback until his sophomore season.
Man. Moved all the way across the country from the New York area out to California for the opportunity to advance his game.
Kienholz again to the end zone, and a little bit too much in the corner there. Ryan Niblitz, who will play at Texas, couldn't quite come up with that one. And all the other athletes in the state of South Dakota are so happy that Lincoln Kienholz is done playing football. We're talking about a 3-time state champion, okay? Total offense, Anthony, 12,600 yards, okay? And 150 touchdowns accounted for.
Also very impressive.
Ridiculous.
Fun talking to his family in the hotel last night as well. Some of his family from Nebraska. They're looking forward to switching their allegiances to Ohio State. They're getting ready to face the Huskers in the Big Ten as well.
Thinking of the Big Ten, future Hoosier right now, Nicholas Radicic. 25-yard field goal and curls that one in. Good draw there. Early in the second quarter to make it 14-3. Good to have the West on the board. Kienholz, all-state in basketball, averaging 20 points per game. All-state baseball player, starts on defense.
He referenced that phone call he had to make to Kalen DeBoer in Washington when he was decommitting, preparing to join up with the Buckeyes. We've heard that a lot over the years from prospects who, especially advised by their families. You want to call these programs who've been a part of your process, who've helped you to a certain extent in your career, spent resources on coming to recruit you, so he made that effort to call Kalen DeBoer in Washington and let him know he was decommitting. Said it was a very difficult call. Talked to certain prospects in the past and they've decommitted from Nick Saban, some of the top personalities in the game. But it's one of those things. It certainly does, in my opinion, make sense. You want to take that step. And again, make sure you're continuing to nurture those relationships as well.
So he always had his eye on Ohio State. It's a program that he didn't call it his dream school, but he knew if they ever came calling, it would be tough to say no. And as I mentioned, the senior season got off to such a good start. In Ohio State, during their off week, they had quarterback coach Corey Dennis come to his game where it was the #1 team against #2. He accounted for 6 touchdowns. And of course, that relationship took off from there. They invited him to the Ohio State-Michigan game. He loved what he saw, and he said he waited 2 or 3 weeks to announce it, but he knew when he was coming back from Columbus that was where he would end up. This is Jaylen Brown, future LSU Tiger. Justice Hayes. And Hayes is wrapped up just before he got back to the 20-yard line. We are happy to welcome in a man who is the head coach at Notre Dame, but on this day, he's a former All-American who played in this game to end his prep career before he went to Ohio State. There's the smiling Marcus Freeman. Marcus, thank you for spending time with us. Before we talk about the Irish, what do you remember about this experience here in San Antonio?
I want food.
We're having some technical difficulties with Coach Freeman, and we'll work on those and hope to have him back. Nice of Marcus to join us here. Again, former athlete here and the current head coach at Notre Dame. East squad up 14-3, and that's a heck of a move in the pocket, and this will be a touchdown for the East. Ruben Owens, the #1 tailback in the nation. You'll see more of that at Texas A&M. The catch and the run for a touchdown. Pardon me, that was Mark Fletcher. And he'll be on his way to Miami.
You referenced the pretty move in the pocket, Paul. Childs keeping his eyes down the field, climbing vertically into the pocket. You love those mechanics as a passer. Doesn't run sideways. And as he climbed vertically, it drew the eyes of the defensive backfield towards him. That opened up the lane down the field for Mark Fletcher. 6'2", 225 in the open field.
Former Ohio State commits. Same high school, actually, at American Heritage there. His teammate Brandon Ennis, who will go to Ohio State. Extra point is up and in. East squad in control, up 21-3. Declaration time when we come back. Malik Elzy from Chicago. Will he stay in his home states or go elsewhere? He's ready to tell us after the break. Welcome back to San Antonio. 23rd All-American Bowl. East on top of the West. 21-3 early second quarter. Let's get back to the former All-American player and the current head coach at Notre Dame, Marcus Freeman. Marcus, thanks for your patience here. Good to see you once again. Before we talk about Notre Dame football, what do you recall fondly about your time here as an All-American in San Antonio?
I think it's the first time for me that you were surrounded by great football players. And, you know, there was a lot of great situations, a lot of great opportunities while you were down there, but you remember the people. I remember my roommate was a guy named Brian Toll that went to Boston College, and you played with some great players, Ted Ginn and Adrian Peterson and Brian Cushing, and a lot of those guys that played had long careers in the NFL. And so those are the memories you have that special weekend down in San Antonio.
And Marcus, the game has changed a lot in the years since you were here on this field between the early December signing day and, you know, players who've been able to already sign on their letter of intent. How much for you is it different, and are you gratified by the fact that you've got Notre Dame players still willing to show up here to San Antonio and compete on this field?
Well, I think the recruiting, the college football game is forever changing. And it's our job to make sure we continue to evolve with the changes that are made. And
During the return, holding, number 7, Turkey.
The technical difficulties with Notre Dame head coach Marcus Freeman there. We will effort to bring him back in. It's interesting to hear all these coaches talk about how much recruiting has changed, not just in the last decade, but in the last couple of years.
It's a sport that continues to evolve, and, you know, for Marcus Freeman, because he's been so recently in the same scenario that these current athletes are in, it seems like he's really able to relate to the position they find themselves in.
East defense in the backfield there at the 10-yard line, and that's Hunter Clegg, who will play at Utah. Good play there. And the East team offense and defense really getting it done.
Even the early enrolling, Paul. I mean, you know, we would see occasionally years ago there'd be quarterbacks who would show up early and enroll on campus immediately and go there for that spring semester. Now there's all position groups, players all over the field who are leaving tomorrow, like you've already referenced with a couple of the guys on the field here. It seems like it's becoming the norm, and so coaches and programs have to be evolving and ready to receive them.
Here's Clarkson, keeps it himself. Good decision, avoids a big hit there and makes it out to the 15-yard line. Notre Dame head coach Marcus Freeman back with us. Interesting goings on with the Notre Dame quarterbacks right now, Coach. I thought Tyler Buchner was outstanding in the Gator Bowl win. He was the MVP. Big news late this week, Sam Hartman via the transfer portal. He's coming to South Bend as well. Interesting quarterback group you have coming up this spring.
Yeah, it was a kind of a decision we made during the season after Tyler got hurt. I felt like it was probably what's best for our program to find another older guy that could come in here and really enhance our roster. And Sam is a perfect fit. You know, not only just being a great quarterback, but a great teammate. And that's what you have to be cautious of when you start looking in the transfer portal for specific positions of guys that are going to enhance your roster. You got to find the right fit, and I'm more excited about Sam, the teammate, than maybe even about him as a quarterback. He's going to make our team better, and I'm excited for our future.
Hey, Marcus Freeman, congratulations on the strong finish to the season with the win in the Gator Bowl. Thanks for your time today. Look forward to seeing you soon in South Bend.
All right, thanks, man.
Marcus Freeman, head coach at Notre Dame, and Marcus, former defensive back, and appreciate the play by Caleb Downs, who will play at Alabama. This is the #1. He was voted the player of the year nationally, and he's the #1 safety in the class.
A really exceptional combination of finesse and physicality that he brings to the table, and he's not a big, imposing physical specimen as a safety, but more than willing to run the alley. Very physical tackler, and you see there ball skills in coverage, recognition of route combinations.
East side already up. This could be a double pass, but it's off the hands of Justice Haynes, and he has to track it down. This will be a big loss for the East side. That was a lateral. I think Justice was going to consider throwing that. Caleb Presley, who will play at Washington, made the play. Want to play offensive coordinator here, Ant? you got a good call on second forever?
Yeah, this is going to be a difficult one. Perhaps a screen pass might be in line for what the East has coming to the table here. When you got this level of speed on the opposing defense, and most of these offensive players, they're accustomed to being the fastest player on every field they step onto. Now you have defenders who can run with you, so you really have to execute at a high level when you're going with any sort of misdirection or sort of tricky plays.
Dante Moore already with a pair of touchdown passes. Little bit too much down the middle there. Intended for Carnell Tates, who will play at Ohio State. One of 2 wide receivers on the east side here on his way to Columbus. Now 3rd down and long coming up here for the east side and Dante Moore. Love the story that Dante shared with us yesterday, going way back to the early part of his recruiting. Again, he's from Detroit, went to a camp in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and Jim Harbaugh offered him a scholarship. And he said, I didn't really grasp the gravity of it at that point, but he went to tweet it on the 30-minute drive home, and he said he just choked up and started crying. He realized at that moment what a huge deal that was and what direction his life was going thanks to football for the next 4 years. Set up a screen pass over the middle. Big chunk to get here for Trayvon Webb. And he gets a little bit back, the future Florida Gator. #1 running back in Billy Napier's class. Napier picked up Caden Jones with a declaration a little bit earlier in this game, and the tackle made by Blake Nicholson.
This is one of the things I love about Dante Moore's game, Paul, because as a high schooler, he can already throw from a variety of arm slots. He's able to drop his elbow down, raise his elbow up, to find throwing windows in the midst of traffic in a way that a lot of young QBs aren't quite refined enough to do effectively.
David Olano, a kicker who will go to Illinois. Enjoyed talking to his parents and his family last night. So excited about what Brett Bielema is doing there in Champaign-Urbana. Said he had a lot to do with the fact that this kicker is on the way there. 50-yarder on the way. Oh, it is good. Big kick for Olano on his way to Champaign-Urbana, and the Fighting Illini just could come into play here coming up next as Malik Elzy, 6'3", 200-pound wide receiver from Chicago, who is considering Brett Bielema and Illinois, is ready to tell us about his decision. All right, Lewis.
All right, he is ready. His family is ready, and we're excited about what this young man is going to tell us. I just want to reference something, and that's just the size. Malik is 6'3", 201 pounds. He is a big wide receiver, and you told us something in the meetings yesterday that we all loved. You do not believe in 50-50 balls. You feel like if the ball's coming your way, it is yours. And he's still waiting for a long ball to come his way in this game today, and we believe that's coming in just a few moments. Now, he helped to lead Simeon Academy to a 12-1 record this season, the Chicago City Championship with 11 touchdowns, and projected as a red zone threat in college. That sounds pretty good. All right, here we go. Malik, we've got the hats here. Your family's here waiting to see what's going to happen. On the far end, we've got Illinois, got Wisconsin, Michigan, Tennessee, and right here is Notre Dame. Here's the moment. We would like to know where you plan to play your college football.
First, I would like to thank God for being in this position right now. Secondly, I would like to thank my family for keeping me humble and enjoying this process. Lastly, I would like to thank my Simeon head coach, Coach Dante. And with that being said, for the next 3 to 4 years, I'll be attending. Take the hat.
All right. His dad, Curtis, picks up Illinois. Mom looks to be happy. Jackie's brother and sister are here, Devontae and Dorian. And being from Chicago, how much of being at close distance, how much did that play into your decision here?
It plays a lot, just showing how they prioritize me and show me how much they really need me on the team.
And how do you think you'll be able to contribute to that team, especially with your size, your tenacity, the way to grab those balls, and just your determination on the field?
I'll be the outside receiver that they need. The third down balls, I'm going to go get it.
Going to get it. And we're waiting to see if he's going to be able to get a big one here in this game. For the moment, congratulations to all the family. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
All right, guys.
Big moments there for Illinois with the field goal and the declaration of Malik Elzy. Anthony, you're from the Chicago area. You're well aware that Illinois was so good for so long, took a big dip. They just had their first winning season in over a decade. The importance of that university keeping kids in state.
It was Brett Bielema's main focus when he first took that job, and he said it very forthright. So this is a huge get for the Illini to have a prospect like Malik Elzy stay home, stay in state, not only for this cycle, but what it can mean for cycles to come, and especially when you factor in, like you referenced, Paul, that success that the Illini had this season. They were on the cusp of making the Big Ten championship game in Brett Bielema's second year, and he doesn't even really have the program in his image quite yet. And that image of what we view for Brett Bielema football is evolving. You know, they had a very efficient passing attack with Tommy DeVito transferring in this season, but not the most explosive passing attack. Chase Brown was a running back that led the nation in rushing for most of the season. So Malik Elzy can come in and balance things out for them more so offensively. Be like he referenced to Lewis, that outside receiver who can pick up chunk yardage.
You think about where Brett learned. He played at the University of Iowa. Hayden Fry prioritized Iowa kids, won consistently with Iowa kids. He goes to Wisconsin. What did Barry Alvarez do? He started that program by building a wall around Wisconsin, keeping in-state kids there as Badgers. And the West Side goes right to Samuel Singleton. He'll play at Florida State. And now Brett trying to do the exact same thing and off to a good start in Illinois. Let's bring in Brandon Huffman, National Recruiting Editor for 24/7 Sports. What do you see with the Fighting Illini led by Brett Bielema?
Yeah, Paul, this is the first time they brought in 2 4-stars from the state of Illinois in almost a decade. Obviously, the work that they did this year, playing in a New Year's Day Bowl, putting Michigan, taking them down to the wire, but then more importantly, the focus in the state. And it wasn't just, the focus on the offensive side of the ball, it was on the defensive side of the ball, and showing that they were not going to let the other Big Ten schools come into their state and just have at it like they've been doing for the last decade. And obviously, getting a guy like Malik Elzy, he's a player that's going to come in with the expectation that he's going to need to be ready to play as a true freshman. And I think that combination, along with Caden Feagin, just gives Illinois fans a lot of encouragement, a lot of excitement to show that what he's doing in his first full recruiting class is something they should be able to expect for the next 5 to 7 years as he continues to build that program.
It's been a little while, but I remember lining up against Illinois. We'll take a look at this West Side. Novosad in trouble off his back foot. Gets that one out of bounds. Yes, he does. Good rush there by the East. But off of one side, Simeon Rice. Off the other side, Kevin Hardy. In the middle, the Buckus winner, Dana Howard. And that was what Illinois was back then, and they just went away for a while. And with the help of the in-state recruiting, we'll see if they can get back to that run.
And Simeon, just as a high school football program in Chicago, when you're from Chicago, you know they are an exceptional athletic department, but you do think of them more for their basketball success with guys like Jabari Parker, Nick Anderson, Derrick Rose, what they've meant to the Chicago hoop scene over the years. And my family's from the same Chicago neighborhood that Malik Elzy's in right now. The Inglewood neighborhood, not a great place to grow up, raise a family. So credit to his parents as well. His mom's a nurse. His dad's a truck driver. They've done everything they can to surround him with all the opportunities available. It's a magnificent decision that he's made. Now he'll get an opportunity to take that Barry Lenny Jr. offense in Champaign to another level.
Malik Elzy, wide receiver from Chicago to Illinois. 2 previous declarations. Caden Jones, offensive lineman, New Orleans to Florida. And that ball was tipped, partially blocked. And the East from the 50, and they'll be just inside the West Side when they come back. And the first declaration was Mikhail Harrison Pilot. He will follow his father and play at Houston. Highlight on the field, the top-ranked player in this game, Dante Moore, the future UCLA quarterback, with a pair of touchdown passes, and the East in control. All-American Bowl is brought to you by Visit San Antonio. Plan your trip at visitsanantonio.com. By PNC, committed to helping the customers and the communities they serve move forward financially. See how they can make a difference for you at PNC.com. And by Purina. Purina creates richer lives for pets and the people who love them. Purina, your pet, our passion. Thinking about the college football playoff, we have a teammate who happens to be a Georgia Bulldog, and she has this message.
What's up, everyone? It's Maria Taylor, and I want to say congratulations to everyone who was chosen to play in the All-American Bowl, but I want to send a very special congratulations to all my dogs out there. I can't wait to see you tear it up in the Classic City. I can't wait to be watching you during the game and also heading out to L.A. to watch the national championship. So have a great one, and I'll see you in Athens.
Hey, Maria, thank you. Georgia always so well represented in this game. They've been stacking highly ranked recruiting classes for as long as we've been doing it. The second ranked class right now. Dante Moore over the middle. And check out the quickness now of Brandon Inniss. He'll play at Ohio State. And he's just inside the 30. Well-designed screenplay there for the future Buckeye. Finally tackled by Josiah Wagoner, who will play at Oklahoma.
It's interesting when you think of the fact that reportedly Ryan Day may consider giving up play calling going into next season. Their offense has been so successful in Columbus, and the receiver core is so varied. And a lot of the guys at receiver for Ohio State in recent seasons have had very defined roles in the slot and outside. And some of them individually, when they grow in the system, can show some of the versatility playing a variety of spots. Certainly see where Brandon Inniss will fit into that pretty immediately.
Dante Moore back in at quarterback, drops back for the second time in a row, over the middle, little bit perfect. I thought it was going to be overthrown. Carnell Tate, good finishing job there. And that's the third touchdown toss for Dante Moore. And again, it is a Bruin to a Buckeye, 6 points east.
A lot of young quarterbacks with the arm strength of Dante Moore don't really display the arm talent. And these are phrases that really get mixed up sometimes, because arm talent doesn't necessarily mean you just have a big arm. When you're a talented passer, you can throw receivers open like we've seen Dante Moore do multiple times during this game. He is so refined as a passer, being able to spot throw receivers he's only met a few days ago.
And Dante Moore, 3 touchdown passes, and 2 of them coming as he got drilled. Extra point is up and in, and that's a skill he'll need at the next level, playing in the Pac-12 and also in the Big Ten. And that's off the back foot there, Anthony. It's not the ability to step into that and really snap it off. He was kind of retreating a bit. Watch him right here. And how often you see this in the NFL? The quarterback can't really step into it, but you got to get rid of it with accuracy and also with velocity, and that is so well done.
I mean, it's a magnificent pass rush with him under duress, and that's where the decisiveness of any quarterback, especially a quarterback as early in the development as Dante Moore is, comes into play. Because the pass rush is going to get home sometimes. The defensive line, as talented as pass rushers are these days, they will have you under duress, either the front four or that oncoming blitz. You have to be decisive and be willing to stand in there and deliver under pressure. Dante Moore, his highlight reel is riddled with passes like that. We're seeing him display it here for a national audience.
He was so much fun to talk to a couple days ago, wasn't he? He was really, I thought, forthright about UCLA, all the positives and some of the challenges they have as well. He said, I'm fully aware of the perceptions of basketball school. I know the Rose Bowl doesn't sell out, doesn't come close a lot of times. He said, I want to be a part of changing that, and I think they're right there. This is his words. He thinks they're right there to turn it back. Eastside with those 3 touchdowns for Moore, leading by 28. The biggest part's
declaration. I think this one's very critical because Peyton Woodyard will be the first ever junior to declare in this game. He's the number 4 safety in the class of 2024, and that's important because he's been a fan of this game his entire life. He's watched this game ever since he was a young man. We have Dad Gerald here. We also have Mom Nora, brother AJ, sister Lauren, and about 20 family members here as well. Friends also. Even a teammate over here to cheer him on. Okay. And it feels like we have 20 hats on the table as well. Peyton, we have Texas, Florida, Georgia, Michigan, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Oregon, and USC. Where are you going to go to school?
First and foremost, I want to thank my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. I want to thank my mom and dad for everything they poured into me. I love my brother and my sister.
and all my family here. I love everyone here for coming and supporting me. With that being said, for the next 3 to 4 years, Athens, Georgia, I'm home.
There you go. Going to Georgia. The family goes bananas. I love Dad Gerald. He's already got the hat, the golf hat going on. So, Peyton, to make a decision a year early like this, what was it about Georgia that made you want to go to Athens?
Just the whole DB tradition they got there. You got Coach Kirby coaching the DBs, Coach Fran, Coach Muschamp. If you want to be great, come to Georgia. Let's go.
So your cousin is Kyle Hamilton, the former Notre Dame safety, also now plays in the NFL for the Ravens. What advice did he give you throughout this process?
You just want to go where your heart is, and you want to go to your school you want to go to. So Georgia felt like home, and this is where I'm going.
So Brandon, he's from Berea, California. I think there's a little game Monday night about 45 minutes away that he's going to attend the national championship for Georgia. Peyton Woodyard going to Athens.
Yeah, he will not be far from where that national championship game is going to be played, in his backyard there at SoFi Stadium. In fact, a year ago, we saw one of his teammates, Ernest Green, at St. John Bosco, announce for Georgia. He signed with the Bulldogs. He's now back home in his backyard playing in Los Angeles on Monday night. And we're seeing a continued just focus out west for Georgia with this recruiting. Brock Bowers with Keely Ringo, with Ernest Green a year ago, and now Peyton Woodyard. This moves Georgia to the #2 class nationally in the 2024 class. We talked about them being a top 2 or 3 class each and every year, and already off to a good start.
Bulldogs always such a strong presence here. Look at the ease here. Aiden Chiles escapes the pressure, spots an open Jaden Skeet, just floats it out there perfectly, and allowing Jaden Skeet, who will play college football at Boston College, to sprint down that far sideline. Thought for a moment he might get in. He gets down to the 15-yard line.
Yeah, we referenced some of the speed of the defenders on the field as well, but there's such ease to the way that Aiden Chiles plays the game with. He doesn't allow, even if the defense has him under duress, he doesn't allow that to speed him up. You can see him processing things on the go.
He got jerked. Right back to the air, drilled in the backfield. Big hit between the hashes. Samarian Parker, who will play at Clemson. Being a Clemson defensive lineman, kind of like being an Ohio State wide receiver, and a lot of motivation there.
Former Penn State commit ended up flipping his commitment as a reference to Clemson. That dip to be able to turn the corner, the angle that you have to rush at to get there, and then after you feel like you've beaten the tackle clean, you see Parker finishing at the QB.
Brian Brzee in this game. Miles Murphy been good here recently for the Tigers. We'll see him in the NFL soon. Aiden Chiles has Mark Fletcher, who will play at Miami, just to his right. Sets up the screen. Fletcher, 25, tries to get between the hashes there. Good extra fight there at the end to get inside the 20-yard line, but not a lot there on that screen. And Aiden Chiles will now face third down. Loved his story. There's so many turns he had to take as Peyton Woodyard celebrates. Class of 24 junior, the first time we've seen that. He plays college football at Georgia. But Aiden Chiles, when he was at Los Alamitos High School, he was behind Malachi Nelson, the quarterback in the USC class. And he had to transfer to get his opportunity at Downey High School. And as we talked about, broken arm his junior year. Really wasn't until his senior season that he came on strong. And we'll see him play at Oregon State. Out to his right, back over the middle. Oh, he can't throw it any better. In and out of the hands, though, of Nathaniel Joseph, who will play at Miami. He would love to have that one back. And that brings up fourth down. Go ahead,
You mentioned, Paul, that broken arm of Aiden Chiles. Between multiple things here, the COVID year where a lot of younger players didn't get to play football much, if any, that year. And then also his transfer from one school to the next and breaking his arm. He hasn't even played the quarterback position and hasn't had as much on the task reps as a lot of the other guys on the field today. So to see the refinement that Chiles is able to play the position with now, I know Jonathan Smith, Brian Lindgren, they have to be licking their chops at what they'll be able to do to continue to enhance what already Aiden Chiles brings to the table.
David Olano, who will play at Illinois, 1-for-1. This is from 36 yards out. It is up, and he is having a heck of a day. 6 points on the board for him. Illinois having a good day here. I want to get it back to Aiden Chiles one more time. And as he began to play better and better and better, he had already committed in the summer, this past summer, to Oregon State. He got a lot of calls from big brands. And he stepped back and he considered them, and he went back to that feeling, Anthony, when he had to leave Los Alamitos to get his chance to play it down. He said he didn't like that. Felt like he was leaving his friends behind, something he started. And that feeling kind of came back to him when he started thinking about maybe going to another school. He didn't like that. Wanted to stay with where he started, and the feeling he had a couple years ago had a lot to do with his commitment to remain an Oregon State Beaver.
And all of these prospects here, it's such an individual decision. And I referenced earlier where people tend to view these recruits in this myopic way, thinking that every prospect is going to the biggest brand or the biggest NIL opportunity these days. But Aidan Chiles is an example of someone taking his path, his approach for what's comfortable for him, what he ends up recognizing he's looking for in a college football program. And I've been to Corvallis quite a bit. It is the quintessential college football town. It's almost like Mayberry, but just with great athletic programs in there as well. It's a great spot for him to go play ball.
The West offense needs to get it going here. They won't have a bad starting spot here from the 35-yard line. Dante Moore for the East UCLA Bruin has 3 touchdown passes already. And the West looking for that elusive first touchdown now inside of 2 minutes. Nice to talk to Notre Dame head coach Marcus Freeman. Earlier in the second quarter, played here a while back and went on to play at Ohio State. Now the head coach of the Fighting Irish. Notre Dame well represented here on the defensive side of the ball.
Friday.
We're talking to Marcus Freeman a bit about how things have evolved over the years here. Looking forward to our opportunity at the halftime coming up here to talk to Big Ten Commissioner Kevin Warren. One of the things I'll be interested to talk to him about, just how everything is morphing around the sport.
Austin Novosad, well done to Quentin Joyner. Bought some extra time and a little flip to the left side. And that is Oregon to USC for a big game that the West Side badly needed.
This escapability on display from Novosad. Looked towards his first read, didn't like it, starts to tuck the football away, and he had Hunter Clegg chasing him from behind. Just narrowly able to get the football off before getting tackled. So that ability to extend the play sets up Quentin Joyner outside the numbers.
Thursday.
See if the West Side can take advantage now. Novosad in trouble again. Sets up the screen. One-handed interception. We'll see if the East can turn into 6, and they cannot. But they are set up inside of West territory. And the ball picked off there.
I mean, what an interception by Brennan Vernon.
Brennan Vernon on his way to Notre Dame.
You know, Marcus Freeman has to be pretty excited about that. The ball skills on display. Reaching out that left hand, just comfortably snatching it like he wants to get some tight end reps. Notre Dame's got to be becoming tight end in recent years here. We've seen some of these pass catchers of his similar stature going to the Irish and making plays at the tight end position. Who knows? Maybe not only a defensive lineman, they may have an offensive threat.
1 out of 5 on his way to Notre Dame. Will catch his breath there. Nice play. He said one of the best parts about this week is not only getting to know the guys that you're going to play against in college, but getting to know your future teammates. He's roommates with Adon Schuler, who will play defensive back for the Fighting Irish. Aidan Chiles right back on the field. And right back to the air. Had the ball come out of his hands. And I can tell you as a former quarterback, that happens about once a year. You don't want it to happen on a stage like this. Hopefully that won't happen to him at Oregon State next year.
He's trying to go to a very quick read. He's already got a quick throwing motion. And the snap itself is completely clean. But you can tell he's a little bit anxious, wanting to hurry up and get the football out of his hands. He kind of quickened his mechanics even more with that anxious nature trying to deliver the football.
Oregon State, first 10-win season since all the way back in 2006. Passing offense wasn't a strength at all. Held them back a little bit. Now they have Uiagalelei there, and also Giles coming in. Dante Moore back in the game, and now East will be working inside of West territory. Kenrick Lanier, longtime Vanderbilt commit, in the end flipped inside with the Minnesota Golden Gophers. He was on the receiving end there.
It's a great get. Kenrick Lanier for P.J. Fleck. News ended up coming out today that Minnesota's going to lose Kirk Ciarrocca, their offensive coordinator, moving on to Rutgers. It's been a nice receiver core that P.J. Fleck has had there in Minneapolis. He's had a number of guys he's developed over the years in the top flight Big Ten wideouts.
So Dante Moore checked back in. 3 touchdown passes already. Longtime Oregon commit. Will play at UCLA, though. And Aiden Childs on the sideline there. They're taking a look at the right side. And already up 34-3. See if Dante Moore can help add to that. 2-time state champion at King High School in Detroit. Has been, as advertised, the highest ranked player in this game, accounting for 3 touchdown passes. Junior and senior seasons, he did that 72 times, and that's good by itself, Anthony. Only threw 6 interceptions in that time as well. Right back to the air, stepping up in the pocket, can run to the left if he'd like, but he sets up, turns those shoulders, fires downfield into double coverage, knocked away. And now 21 seconds left until halftime.
That's where he reminds me of Trevor Lawrence, because we haven't seen Dante Moore take off and run very frequently today, even though he's been under duress, because he trusts himself to make quick reads, to put the football accurately and decisively where it needs to be. But that did show you there. He's a very twitchy athlete to be able to evade rushers, but still keep his eyes down the field, and threw a really impressive pass where his receiver had an opportunity for it.
Dante Moore tomorrow will head west, going to Westwood. Classes start on Monday, and he will be there to be a part of it. Ripple effect, it all started when offensive coordinator at Oregon, Kenny Dillingham, took the job at Arizona State. It was his main contact and really caused him to rethink in the end pick UCLA over Ohio State. And 10 seconds left now in the half. One more shot, 9 seconds for the West Side. The greatest high school athletes need the greatest performance apparel and footwear. All week long, Adidas has made sure that the players in the All-American Bowl, after the halftime break, we had 4 commitments there in that half. Mikhail Harrison-Pilot to Houston, Caden Jones to Florida, Malik Elzy to Illinois, and Peyton Woodyard to Georgia. And to the end zone 3 times for a score, Dante Moore to lead the East Side to a comfortable halftime lead. Yes, we could not be more excited that the Big Ten is coming to NBC soon, this fall in 2023. Welcome back to San Antonio. East leads the West 34-3. The commissioner of the Big Ten, Kevin Warren, was instrumental in making this relationship happen. He joins Anthony and I right now. Kevin, you think about the Big Ten and NBC and that relationship, what comes to mind?
I mean, really power and passion. And we are so excited in the Big Ten Conference to be joining NBC for Big Ten Saturday night on NBC. And it's been just a wonderful relationship, and really looking forward to building our brands together and setting a stage to allow our student athletes to be.
And welcome back to the Sports Engine halftime, where the West Austin Youth Association flag football teams were selected from Sports Engine's network of youth organizations to participate in today's All-American Bowl festivities. Good time out there on the field. Also a good time last night. It was fun to host the award banquet. It was held last night. All the awards handed out for the players and also the Coach of the Year. We start with the Coach of the Year. That's Jason Negro from St. John Bosco, the team well represented here each and every season. And the Lineman of the Year, Caden Proctor, longtime Iowa commit, but will play at the University of Alabama. And the Offensive Player of the Year, Dante Moore, 3 touchdown passes here in the first half from Detroit. He's on his way to UCLA. Defensive Player of the Year, Drake Bowen, 2-time Player of the Year in Indiana. He'll play college football at Notre Dame and baseball. Player of the Year, he has an interception in the first half. Caleb Downs, you'll see him playing next fall at Alabama. And the Man of the Year, impressive, Walker Lyons, former Stanford commit. He is now undecided on where he'll play in college. Marty Snyder on the sideline with Eric Richards, who is the All-American Bowl Selection Committee Director.
And also some of the class of 2024 right here, including Peyton Woodyard, who just committed a moment ago to Georgia. So 500 kids, Eric, at the Combine this year. Why is it important for these underclassmen to show off their skills here in San Antonio?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of areas we don't get to, you know, with eyes and everything. So it gives those players an opportunity to come on a national stage. And, like, we found 5 last night that we didn't know about. So it's definitely
quickly.
It can be hard to spot if you're not paying attention.
The same could be said for talent. It can flash before your eyes. You're watching the All-American Bowl on NBC.
And the All-American Bowl, in addition to watching the talent, it's about listening to the declarations. Here's what we've seen so far. 1 commitment to Houston, another to Florida, to Illinois, and also to Georgia. So we're halfway done. These are the 4 we have coming up here in the second half. Jamari Johnson, TJ Capers, another junior from the class of 24, Tyler Scott, and we'll end with Jelani McDonald. And welcome back inside the Alamo Dome here. Paul Burmeister alongside Anthony Herron. We have Marty Snyder and Lewis Johnson on the sideline, and also 24/7's national recruiting editor Brendan Huffman to add his expertise as well. And Anthony, we'll see if the West Side can add a touchdown or 2 in this third quarter.
I'll be surprised if they don't in the third quarter of this game and second half of this game. I mean, it does go to show the defensive talent that's been on display on the field today. But I do believe overall, I mean, there's enough talent, enough playmakers on that west sideline on either side of the ball to start making some plays and get themselves back into it.
Dante Moore, we just saw him jogging on the sideline of the East. There he is signing autographs, and he has been in demand this week. Highest ranked player in this game. Spent most of the fall committed to Oregon, and then in December opened it back up. Chose between UCLA and Ohio State, and in the end signed with Chip Kelly and the Bruins. He was terrific in the first half. We look forward to more in the second half. And the commitment to bringing the kicks out here in the All-Star games continues, Big A. Out across the 20-yard line. And that's Ruben Owens, not only the top running back in this game, but the top running back in the class, who will play at Texas A&M. Dante Moore talks to the fans in the stands, and he thought about going to Ohio State. Lincoln Kienholz, all-time leading passer in the state of South Dakota. He thought about it after committing to Washington and decided it would be a good idea. He takes his 12,000 yards of total offense in 4 years in South Dakota, and he is a future Ohio State Buckeye. Unlike so many of these quarterbacks, though, he will not be going from the game. All-state basketball and baseball player will return to high school for the spring. Samuel Singleton will play at Florida State, right up the middle, and not much there.
That's where, Paul, the December signing day, I mean, it's, you know, it's still termed as the early signing period, but it's really become the main national signing day. And the initial thought was partly that you could get a lot of the craziness that drifts into February and closer to spring ball, get that out of the way by December. But it has made December really chaotic for coaching staffs, and all these dominoes that end up falling where one recruit's decision affects another. The coaching carousel that swirls that time of year also, like Kenny Dillingham getting a head coaching opportunity at Arizona State. Now there's other dominoes, this sort of cascade of events that end up affecting it.
Hey, Florida State, they're getting that running back who's carried it the last 2 times, Samuel Singleton. Big bowl win where they had almost 600 yards of total offense, another 10-win season. Brandon, how are they doing in the recruiting scene, not only with the high school kids, but also with the transfer portal?
Well, I think there's obviously a huge emphasis on the transfer portal, and they're doing really well in that, and I think that's going to be something that you're going to continue to see schools really focus on. And you're seeing it right now. You're seeing that the quick fix that a lot of schools can have with the transfer portal. You can go into the portal and you can grab guys and they're going to be able to play right away. You might only need them for 1 year, and that allows you to recruit and develop some guys instead of throwing them into the fire much earlier than they're maybe expected to play, maybe than they're ready to play. But I think that they're doing a great job of doing it, you know, recruiting the high school ranks, but also going to the portal to put some of those guys into places where they can make an immediate impact and allow that program to develop.
And Anthony, thinking about the portal, that pass was intended for Cordell Russell, who will play at TCU. They did an amazing job taking advantage of the portal this year. Without it, they wouldn't be playing on Monday night in the national title game.
And they're a great example of a program that doesn't have huge NIL infrastructure like some others, but athletes do have more that they factor into these decisions beyond just the cash.
It'll be declaration time when we come back. Jamari Johnson told us this week he plays the tight end position like Travis Kelce. He'll tell everyone where he'll play college football after the break.
Tight end. Where will I be lighting it up? Time to find out.
And everything is big about this next celebration, this next declaration. Jamari Johnson, a big tight end at 6'5", 250. He's got a big family here who's come in to celebrate this moment with him. Look at everybody back here. Hello! That's what I'm talking about. This is just an amazing story. You talk about a family commitment. When Jamari was 16, his family decided they needed to move from the East Coast to the West Coast. Everybody wanted to support him in his football dream. His first coach looked at him and said, son, I'm sorry, you're not a quarterback, but let's talk about what you are, and that is a tight end. And of course, we've seen you do amazing things on the football field, and we know more is coming. So, along with all the athleticism, a 3.7 grade point average, which is absolutely awesome, and family is here to support him. His mom, Yashika, his dad, Timothy, is right behind me here. 4 brothers represented by Chad is here to represent them. 2 sisters, and Kiara's over here with a big smile representing all the sisters. Okay, big fella, it is now time for you to tell us where you're going to play your college football. So we've got some hats here. We've got Pitt, Louisville, Oregon, and my alma mater, Cincinnati. That has nothing to do with anything right now, okay? All right, so tell us, Jamari, where are you going to play your college football?
First of all, I'd just like to thank the man above for making everything possible. I'd like to thank my family for supporting me through everything, thick and thin. And for the next 3 to 4 years, I'll be attending University of...
Go ahead. And there it is. All right. So he's headed to Louisville. And everybody here seems to agree. Jamari, why is Louisville the place for you?
Once I visited there, it just felt like home, and it felt like I was welcome there. So it just that natural feeling of being welcome. It got to me.
What's this All-American Bowl experience been like for you as you get ready to make that next big step in your football life?
It's really prepping me. All the athletes and being around all the athletes, they're pretty fun. Good competitors, and the coaches, shout out to the coaches and stuff, taught me a lot, and I feel like it's really prepping me for college.
All righty, Jamari, congratulations on your decisions. Enjoy with your family, and we'll see you back on the field in just a moment. Guys, that's it. Jamari Johnson headed to Louisville.
Quite a road to get there from Rochester, New York. They moved to Southern California, Anthony, for his football career alone, and now would come back east and play at Louisville. Dante Moore, the quarterback, hands off up the middle. Good quick feet there inside of West territory. And Justice Haynes, here he goes. You'll see this in the SEC at Alabama. And they finally bring him down on the 20-yard line. Out to the right, back to the middle. Big-time gain there for Justice Haynes.
We're seeing some volume carries for Justice Haynes here, which he is more than accustomed to. Into the teeth of the defense. Like I referenced earlier, he's a guy who's willing to press the hole, but when you get him out into the open field, he does have creativity as a ball carrier. He certainly has elusiveness when he's out in space.
4th leading rusher in Georgia history, 95 touchdowns there as a prep. Sniffed another touchdown there out of the backfield there. This is Trayon Webb. Acceleration inside the 20. And pushed out of bounds as he got near the 15-yard line. He will play at Florida. But Jamari Johnson, 6'5", 265. Interesting prospect at tight end.
Just an exceptionally large prospect as a tight end, but he's mainly played, like we've referenced earlier, quarterback, but then also wide receiver. He lines up outside the numbers consistently, and even though his stature is 6'5", 6'6", 250, 260, very smooth as a playmaker.
Thinking about smooth around the right side there inside the 10-yard line is Trayon Webb. Offered a scholarship by Miami in 7th grade. He'll stay in Florida, but he'll stay at the University of Florida. And there's Jamari Johnson calmly signing autographs. And I say this about a number of the guys, but how much fun was he to hang out with on Thursday? Just happy to talk about anything we brought up and his journey from Rochester to L.A. back to Louisville.
And when you think about the commitment not only he's had, but his family's had, and then when that conversation that Lewis referenced take place with his coach, where he went to California expecting to be a QB recruit. His coach sits him down and says, not only do I not necessarily think you're a quarterback, but you do have a bright future at a different position. He had to absorb that and make it work.
Moore, Haynes, touchdown East, and that is 4 touchdown passes for Dante Moore, and the first for a 5-star running back out of Georgia, Justice Haynes, today.
We haven't always seen Dante Moore have this type of time available in the pocket, but you do see he's willing to look, survey, hang in there, and then quickly flip it towards the outside, get it into the hands of his playmaker, Justice Haynes. It's funny to think about this Alabama offense, how that's evolved in the years we've been calling this game, Paul. You think back to the time when Derrick Henry was here and the volume carry approach that Alabama had. Nick Saban has evolved with the sport over the years since then.
Jamari Johnson on his way to Louisville. And a 4th touchdown pass from Dante Moore, the East, way out in front. Come by Adidas. Adidas, the official provider of footwear and apparel. Follow the fastest family in football on Instagram and Twitter at Adidas FBall US for more. And by Gatorade. We want to make the game possible for every kid because the game makes everything possible for them. Fuel tomorrow with Gatorade. Amazing. Last 3 Heisman Trophy winners. Feel like we were just watching them play in this game. The most recent, Caleb Williams. What a season he had at USC. Dante Moore at UCLA. Perhaps they'll be dueling next year. We'll see how that turns out next November. West Side needing some offense. We'll see if the special teams can spark them. This is TJ McWilliams, wide receiver who will play at Minnesota. And gives the West offense a head start, which they could really use here, Anthony, as the East has been rolling. And a smile on that man's face, Jamari Johnson. He just told us he'll play in Louisville.
But things have been sputtering a bit, but they could certainly use this. TJ McWilliams, player's family, has quite the athletic background. His dad and his sister, both collegiate athletes, 6'1", 175 pounds, been a receiver, been a return man, played a variety of positions at the high school level. Actually, a late flip. He was initially committed to Purdue, ended up deciding to switch his commitment over by signing day.
Austin Novosad, look left, rolls out to the right, and a little bit too much there to bring up 2nd down 10. Hey, Austin Novosad, Anthony, had an important decision his freshman year, in school. He could either take welding or he could take agriculture. He went the ag route, and he really liked it. This is him. Got into raising and showing pigs in Future Farmers of America. You got the brush in the right pocket. You got the towel in the back left pocket. He was good at it. He enjoyed it. Award-winning pigs. And he had that smile on his face yesterday, not only talking about going to Oregon, but talking about his background raising pigs in Texas.
I know the dog show is quite a big thing here. I don't necessarily have a lot of experience showing pigs or a lot of knowledge that would be associated with it. So I'm going to lean on you for the pig showing.
My late father was an FFA.
Okay.
Proud to see that.
All right.
The quarterback was spending his time that way. My wife's family as well would appreciate. But hey, pigs are smart animals.
Are they?
It's everybody who's been around. It's once they get used to you, used to them. I mean, for an animal owner relationship, it can be rewarding because those are smart animals.
I did not realize
Respond
that.
well.
Yeah.
See?
I don't know that I'll ever need to experience it myself, but it's good to know, just in case it comes up.
Here in your 12th All-American Bowl, learn something new.
Yeah.
Novosad under tremendous pressure, and that's been a theme today. He's been throwing the ball away more than he's been able to step into him. And that's Keon Keeley on his way to Alabama. Pardon me, Deron Reed, who will play at Auburn.
And pressure. The quarterbacks have been under at different points here. It's come from both the inside and the outside. They run a twist stunt. And after they do, Deron Reed able to make his way towards the pocket. The player ended up signing with Auburn, but he was previously committed to LSU, ended up decommitting from the Bayou Bengals in November. And Auburn was in an interesting position as a program because they had already gotten rid of of their previous coach, Brian Harsin. Cadillac Williams was in place as the interim coach. He was able to flip a recruit during that time. Pretty impressive.
Eastside will begin inside their own 10-yard line. And when we come back, it'll be declaration time once again. We saw one junior, that was Peyton Woodyard, go to Georgia. Up next via Zoom, that's TJ Capers, edge rusher. His plans are next.
Back in San Antonio with the East up big. Time for another declaration. This one from the class of 2024. TJ Capers, the number 2 edge rusher in the class, top 5 in the class overall. He's joining us via Zoom from his home in Miami. His family is there as well. So TJ is going to make a decision here a year early. And TJ, you are down to USC, Louisville, Miami, Georgia, and Colorado. You have your family there. Where are you going to school?
First off, I want to thank God for giving me the opportunity to play the game I love. Second of all, I want to thank my family, including the Columbus community. With that being said, I'm taking my talent to
Trying to get the jacket open. Look at that, Louisville. How about that? Jeff Brom with back-to-back pickups. So TJ, Louisville offered you back in May. Was there any hesitation there with the coaching switch at all?
No, no hesitation at all.
And I also see Colorado on the table as well. So how ardently did Coach Deion Sanders pursue you?
You know, Deion always go hard with everything he do, so you know you want with that.
Hey, Brandon, how about that? What a 15-minute span for Louisville and Coach Jeff Brom. They get back-to-back pickups here in the All-American Bowl. Congratulations, guys.
A lot of excitement there, obviously, with Jeff Brom coming home after spurning them a few years ago. They hired Scott Satterfield. Scott Satterfield kind of put the pieces together for the 2023 class. Pierce Clarkson, Jamari Johnson already committed in this game. Aaron Williams was selected to play. 3 California guys that were headed to Louisville, but now they go into an ACC backyard. They go to the alma mater of Mario Cristobal to get TJ Capers. Start off their 2024 cycle. This moves them into the top 20. This moves them to the number 2 school in the ACC in 2024. I know it's very early. The commitment's obviously very early. Now Mario Cristobal knows how much more he's going to have to work to get a guy from his alma mater. But Louisville off to a great start in 2024, showing that with Jeff Brom's arrival there, they're not going to see any lag in their recruitment. Coming off a great 2023 class and really an appeal nationally. Now they're going into an ACC city, into the city of Miami, to go get a player out of an ACC school's backyard. Jeff Brom is ready to do a lot of damage at his alma mater.
Dante Moore, left sideline, incomplete. And Brandon, right back to you. Jeff Brom has done a wonderful job, and Louisville seems to be a school football program really embraced NIL and have a real plan there that way.
Yeah, and I think that's what really has helped enhance this 2023 class. It was why they were able to get in on a player like a Ruben Owens, why they were able to get a Pierce Clarkson, but then an Aaron Williams, who had a lot of elite schools nationally coming out of Southern California, to get Jamari Johnson and be able to hold off some of the schools that made a push for Jamari Johnson. And it wasn't just those 3 guys. They were able to recruit really on a national level. They weren't isolating the recruitment just to the Southeast. They weren't recruiting just the Midwest. They were doing globally. They were doing it all around the United States, but they made a big emphasis in the state of California. They were calling this class in 2023 Cali to the Ville, and Pierce Clarkson really spearheaded the efforts, became a Pied Piper of sorts for Louisville's recruiting efforts. When he announced his commitment to the Cardinals, there were billboards all around the city of Louisville announcing his arrival, and then he did nothing but be an ambassador for that program. Jeff Brom went out to go see him immediately after he was hired, went to the state championship game to go watch him play, and I think that kind of goodwill immediately showed that Louisville is not something that's just going to be a flash in the pan, that Jeff Brom's going to continue what Scott Satterfield started, and they're going to continue to recruit on a national scope.
And that was perhaps the best sign yet, that Jeff Brom pivoted quickly from Purdue to Louisville. I saw him coaching over the weekend. This was back in December, the Big Ten title game, and then during the week, he's in L.A. with Pierce Clarkson as the head coach of Louisville, making sure that quarterback was coming his way.
Makes you wonder a little bit just about the chaos I was describing earlier in the month of December. Coaching carousel, Scott Satterfield, it was kind of surprising that he ended up leaving, taking the Cincinnati job, because some of the additional resources that were being bolstered there in Louisville could have given him an opportunity to continue to build that program.
But nearly blocked in the end zone, but now the West Side will end up inside East territory on the 42-yard line. Ruben Owens, top tailback of the nation, who will play at Texas A&M, has him set up right there. Looking forward to tomorrow night, the regular season finale of Sunday Night Football, with the final playoff spot on the line as Aaron Rodgers and the Packers host Jared Goff and the Lions. Our coverage begins with Football Night in America, 7 o'clock Eastern on NBC and Peacock. All-American Bowl flavor in that game for sure. Aiden Hutchinson is there, Alan Lazard, and can really turn on any game on Sunday or Monday and point to some guys that we were watching here within the last 10 years in San Antonio.
You saw that name, Penei Sewell, there, Paul. I really think Caden Proctor, current #1 offensive tackle, reminds me a lot of Penei Sewell.
It's a nice person to compare him to.
Yeah.
Caden Proctor, even in the former Iowa commit who's going to Alabama, even in this world of really big people here in San Antonio, in terms of who we're watching play, he stands out.
You showed the clip earlier from the award show last night. I mean, I'm not a small individual, but Caden Proctor absolutely dwarfs me, and he moves so well in the midst of that size.
Lincoln Kienholz, future Buckeye, in trouble once again. He has not had a clean pocket all day. See if he can make something happen to his left. Sets up, fires this one into the end zone. Open man. There's a West touchdown. Well done, Lincoln Kienholz. On the receiving end, the tight end, Kamarian Pimpton, who will play for Brian Kelly at LSU.
We're seeing what Lincoln Kienholz is capable of, but then also on the back end of it, after evading defenders and again keeping his eyes down the field, we see him fire the ball just over the outstretched hands of a defender. Kamarian Pimpton, again, like we saw him do all throughout his high school career, boxing a guy out, going up power forward style, bringing in 6.
When you're 6'6", 250, you should be able to box somebody out. Kienholz says, finally, some good news. And some room to throw the ball. Very good job there by Kienholz, and a nice catch there. Kienholz comfortable outside the pocket for a reason. Ran for over 3,500 yards in his high school career. Good job of keeping his eyes downfield that time. Extra point for the West is up, and it is in. West offense with some life. A little over 2 minutes left in the third. They now trail 41-10. Gatorade Player of the Year. The program is now in its 38th year. Honors the nation's top high school student athletes based on their athletic excellence, academic achievement, and also their exemplary character. This year's state winners, no exceptions. Congratulations to the following: Drake Bowen from Indiana, Arian Carter, Tennessee, Caleb Downs, Georgia. He has an interception today. Brandon Innes from Florida. Lincoln Kienholz just threw a touchdown pass out of South Dakota. And Dante Moore, 4 touchdown passes. Two-time state champion in Michigan, is also the Gatorade Player of the Year. I like how he set up there and turned those shoulders, Anthony, and got a nice spiral into the end zone. And you said Pimpton posted up, and he had a chance to because the ball had a really nice touch on it.
And Pimpton was almost going to be the Vanderbilt Commodore. He was with them up until the wee hours of signing day. Ends up being a late flip to LSU. You can only imagine what that frame and the ball skills, being able to play the ball in flight, tracking it in the way that we just saw Kamarian Pimpton able to do, what that's going to mean down in Baton Rouge.
Can you imagine what it's like for these coaches who work on these kids for months, and in a lot of cases years? Used to be signing day was just kind of an exhale and a celebration. And in a lot of cases, the race is really on when you wake up on signing day. And this is Jaylen Brown. He'll play at LSU. He's got an alley down the right side. Big LSU return, and also an LSU touchdown for the West. And Brian Kelly from Notre Dame to LSU, Brandon. They had a nice season, huge bowl win, really has that going back in the right direction. What have you noticed recruiting-wise in Baton Rouge?
Well, I think you're seeing just an upgrade in talent at LSU. You're seeing that he's going to have an effect to be able to recruit nationally. He was already doing that when he was at Notre Dame, and that was one of the advantages that he brought going from Notre Dame to LSU instead of just focusing on the Southeast. It's kind of been a theme. We're seeing him recruit nationally, but he's able to get and win those recruiting battles where schools were going into Louisiana in recent years and maybe winning those battles. He's now winning those in-state battles, but he's going into Texas. He's going out west. He's going down to the South, deep into the South. He's going up into the East, and then next year, 2024, they already have the top class in the country in the 2024 class. He's built for the long haul, and we're seeing that Brian Kelly is really just kind of being much more open to recruiting around the country in a conference that has seemingly focused on just the Southeast in recent years. There's been more focus on national recruiting, and I think Brian Kelly already had that built in, and you're seeing LSU immediately benefit from it with the top 10 class this year and the #1 class early on in 2024.
We just saw an example with one of our declarations from the class of 24, Peyton Woodyard from Los Angeles. He's going to Georgia, how the SEC going global. They don't necessarily have to with all the talent in that area, but they certainly are casting a wider net there and getting players from all over the country. Justice Haynes on his way to Alabama, another SEC player.
I really find Brandon Sport intriguing there when you think of it from an LSU perspective, because that's a program that's been able to win national championships, but hasn't been that refined in their passing game. But now Brian Kelly can bring all the success he's had from multiple stops, and he's brought that to LSU with him. And so up to this point, he's used the transfer portal at the quarterback position. They've always had talent at wide receiver that goes to the NFL and looks better than they did in college. Now Brian Kelly, his acumen for developing quarterbacks, that could be a part of what actually develops long-term in Baton Rouge.
You're thinking about the passing game. They just had a pass catcher with a touchdown catch there in Kamarian Pimpton. They also have Jaylen Brown in this game. Completion down to the 25-yard line. And they have Justin Jefferson in the NFL. So if you're a talented wide receiver right now in high school, they like to look in the NFL and see, okay, is there anybody from your place getting it done at the next level? And they have that with Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase right now, big time with the Tigers. And that'll be the final play here, third quarter, with the East team on the move once again already with a 31-point lead. Third quarter here at the All-American Bowl was a very good one for Jeff Brom in Louisville. First, Jamari Johnson put on the hat. And then it was TJ Capers. One offense, one defense. Fourth quarter coming up. Moore spent his senior season at King High School in Detroit, committed to the University of Oregon, but in the end he flipped to UCLA. And thinking about Oregon Trail, 1830s, designed to connect Missouri to Oregon, but we're using it here to talk about their recruiting, the wide range of emotions they experienced. Dante Moore flipped. They signed some highly ranked front seven players, and it's only beginning. Then the flipping really started, and they're on the right side of it. They flipped a pair from Notre Dame, including Peyton Bowen. So Peyton's going to jump off it. There he is, because he eventually left. They also got a quarterback. Austin Novosad flipped from Baylor to Oregon. They got a corner from LSU. All kinds of emotions for head coach Dan Lanning, but in the end, yeah, heck yeah, it was a good day. Love that. But he's enjoying a recruiting trail that was all over the place for the Ducks, but in the end was very good. Austin Novosad headed his way. And Brandon Huffman, how would you describe what the Ducks came up with? And hold on one second here. Dante Moore, fastball to the right side. Gets him inside the 20-yard line. And that's Jaden Skeet on his way to Boston College. So we're back to thinking about Oregon. Brandon.
Yeah, I think what he was able to do, remember, he got hired last year just about a week before the early signing period started. And in that time, he was still coaching Georgia, leading them to a national championship as their defensive coordinator. So in his first full recruiting cycle at the University of Oregon, they closed with the flurry. It started the week when they lost Dante Moore, but then they ended with the flurry. Even losing Peyton Bowen really didn't take a lot of the shine off of that class. Able to flip Jaden Lamar from Notre Dame, Austin Novosad from Baylor, and more importantly, even though we didn't get to see him today, he was invited to play here. Mateo Uyunglele, the five-star defensive end from St. John Bosco, his coach Jason Negro is coaching this game for the West, but Mateo was kind of the crown jewel. USC wanted him badly. Ohio State wanted him badly. He picked Eugene. He picked Dan Lanning. He's going to be a Duck in a school that's had some really good defensive players the last few years with the now defensive head coach. That's going to be the cherry on the top of this ice cream sundae that Dan Lanning was able to pull in that first full recruiting cycle.
And Brandon, you mentioned the fact that schools in the SEC are going all over the country right now. It feels like Oregon is going outside the Northwest as well.
They have, and they've been doing that a lot in the last few years, going down into Texas, going down into the Southeast, going into the Midwest, and really expanding their global brand. They are a global brand. They don't have a lot of elite players in the state of Oregon that they can recruit, so they have to recruit nationally, and Dan Lanning is continuing what Mario Cristobal has done.
All right, Brandon, thank you very much. In the meantime, that's Trayon Webb. Had a nice run to the left and now gets into the end zone, and the East just building on that comfortable lead. Trayon will play at Florida. 7th grade, he was offered by the Miami Hurricanes and found his way to the Gators, and they've got more of that coming their way.
Trayon Webb has won multiple state championships during his time in high school. The National Honor Society. He's played varsity since the 8th grade. I'm not completely sure how that's allowed, but he was an 8th grader playing varsity football. Shows that he immense talent that he has available to him.
He's taking their first and only charge timeout of the half.
And that point, Paul, that Brandon was making about Oregon, and he referenced it at the end there, it's a key one, because as a program, as an athletic department, Oregon has been in the process of shifting for a few years now. It of course, began with Mario Cristobal bringing what might be thought of as more of an aggressive SEC-style recruiting approach there to Eugene. And Mario Cristobal gets an opportunity to go to Miami and take his dream job at his alma mater. Oregon grabs Dan Lanning, and between himself, Tosh Lupoy, what they're doing on the defensive side of the football, some of the front seven talent has been really immense for the Ducks, but it did begin kind of with the previous regime and the approach that Mario Cristobal was taking.
And when you're up 37, you need a timeout to think about what two-point play you're going to run.
Yeah, I mean, just to consider things, make sure you're aware of all your options, the possibilities available to you.
Saw Trayon Webb signing autographs on the sideline. Just scored the touchdown. Rodney Gallagher is in the backfield. Wide receiver on his way to West Virginia. Takes the snap, runs it to the right side, and an easy lane across the stripe. Number 2 picks up 2 more points for the East. More reason for the East to celebrate and more declarations coming up. That's Tyler Scott, defensive back from Mableton, Georgia. His college plans are live after the break.
DB. There's only one, Tyler Scott.
We have Tyler and the Scott family here to celebrate this declaration. We've got Mom Sharonica, brother David is here, Grandma Carolyn is here. Now, he originally committed to Arkansas State, but his recruiting blew up in August, getting 15 D1 offers since then. And you see that represented here with all of these hats. You got Auburn, Alabama, Louisville, Tennessee, Michigan, USC, and Texas. Tyler, where are you going to school?
First, I want to start by thanking God and my family. And then next, I want to thank all my coaches, all my trainers, Coach Glenn Ford. And yeah, with that being said, I'll be committed to Auburn.
At Auburn, the pickup for Hugh Freeze here. So how much was the ability to play early at Auburn a decision factor for you?
It wasn't about playing early for real. It was just about the coaching, Coach Zach, Coach Crum, Coach Ty, and Coach Freeze. So I just want to be a part of that. And yeah.
Now, your cousin Caleb Webb's a wide receiver at Tennessee. He's a freshman this year. Did he try to pull you to Knoxville?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. Yeah, he did.
But he is headed to Auburn. Hugh Freeze with a nice pickup. You see him out of pads, by the way, Paul. He is fine. He had a little shoulder injury, but Hugh Freeze gets a nice physical corner in Tyler Scott.
Marty, Tyler, thank you very much. We're going to check in with Brandon on what Hugh Freeze is doing at Auburn in a moment. We'll check out the West return out across the 20-yard line. And this is Ryan Niblett, who will play wide receiver at Texas. So, Brandon, moments ago, you talked about how well, or we all talked about how well Jeff Brom quickly got on it at Louisville right after he left Purdue. How about Hugh Freeze taking over at Auburn?
Oh, I mean, what a fantastic job he did down the stretch, especially with kind of the delay it was in him getting hired at Auburn. You know, even though it looked like they were going to be able to make an early decision, it kind of got dragged out a little bit. But he was able to close with a flurry. Obviously, getting Tyler Scott today helps. But Keldrick Falk, an in-state kid who's playing in this game, one of the elite pass rushers in the country, he committed to the Tigers on signing day. And what an interesting story Tyler Scott is. This is a guy who was committed to Arkansas State, where Hugh Freeze once coach, started his senior year as a commit to Arkansas State, saw his recruitment explode to the tune of nearly 20 Power 5 offers, and now he picks Auburn. Hugh Freeze doing a great job down the stretch. And again, we know what kind of recruiter he is. We know the kind of job he did when he was at Ole Miss and even at Liberty. And when you arm him with a full year, much like Dan Lanning, who had a small window last year before signing day, Hugh Freeze with a small window this year, when you give him a full year and a full time of arsenal to recruit, I think you're going to see Auburn end up having top 20, top 15 classes yearly.
Well, let's hope that Auburn has some good tackles, because this is coming in the Iron Bowl. Keon Keeley flips from Notre Dame to Alabama. It's the top-ranked edge rusher in this game. Little quick screen to the right side. And that's a Darius Redmond who remains uncommitted for his college plans. But Keon Keeley, #1 edge rusher in this class. And it's a player that had a lot of potential sophomore, junior year, was dominant his senior season.
And dominant during the season, dominant throughout this practice week as well. And he was one of the more engaging players that we got to talk to and meet with throughout the week here, because his personality goes beyond just the competitive fire on the field. He's a very well-rounded individual, doesn't necessarily view himself as sort of your standard normal football player.
That's complete to Samuel Singleton, the Florida State running back, out of the backfield. Let's keep it with Keon Keeley. And Marty, he has some interest and some talents outside of rushing the quarterback.
Well, Paul Anthony mentioned it, you know, the fact that he has been in the choir for the last 2 years. He said it's a good example. And he said, I don't fit in, and here's a good example of how he doesn't really fit in Mrs. Westerfield's choir, especially when he's 6'5", 240, and the young man beside him is like 5'3". But I'm told he's a terrific tenor. And I did ask, he's never done a solo, but he has done a duet to We Are the World. So, Paul and Anthony, you ready to belt it out? You can do a little We Are the World up there in the booth, can't you?
I think Anthony might have a better singing voice than me.
Oh, I mean, I'd do it. I'm going to send the bill to Marty when I get charged for singing that on the air. But yeah, I mean, I'd be happy to do it. Love singing. I was actually in the choir as well, so I feel a kinship with Keon Keeley as a defensive lineman who's done a little singing in his background. But when he puts his hand in the dirt, when he puts those cleats in the ground to rush the quarterback, there is very few in the entire country. He's #1 for a reason, because he can get it done both physically and just emotionally, the intensity he brings to the game.
Also went up against Arch Manning. I remember watching this game on a Friday night last fall. He said he was so excited to play against Arch, and he had a couple of sacks and also had an interception. Check this out. The kind of ball you normally just see knocked down by a DN right between the A's. He hangs on to it, and it was fun listening to him talk about how nervous he was going into that game and what that performance on what that stage meant to his confidence. Justice Haynes, who will be Keon's teammate at Alabama, and Keon signing autographs there. We've seen so many of the stars do. He'll make his way from Tampa, Florida to Tuscaloosa.
His mom, Keon Keeley, from Norway. He's got some of those Viking roots in his background that he's really found an importance in. He's taken several trips throughout his young life over to Norway with his mom. But just made sure that he's completely in tune with the full scope of his background. He takes pride in the thought of what it was like back in the days of yore for the Vikings, all the battles they had to wage.
And right up the middle again from Alabama, that's Justice Haynes. Good hole from him. He hasn't seen a lot of that today. First down for the east side.
It seems fitting to use days of yore as a phrase when I was discussing Vikings. I feel like that's Game of Thrones or something along those lines. But for Keon Keeley, not only the length of his frame, but he's got power in his hands as well. And he's really the consummate power rusher, even though he's not a guy with a huge sort of, he's not weighing 270, 280 as he exits high school, but he does bring that intensity, that ferocity to every rush. His offensive line right now for the West Squad starting to impose their will here, continuing to move the ball inside the 10. I love seeing offensive linemen celebrating after a play when they know they've had a successful run.
Little change of quarterback there. That's Austin Frotaya, who will play at Holy Cross, and he was a late add to the roster. Christopher Vizina, who's on his way to Clemson. Banged up during the week, lower body injury, not playing. So Frotaya in, out of the backfield to the 10, inside the 5, and down to the 2-yard line. That's Nathaniel Joseph from Miami, who will play at Miami.
Been quite a recruiting cycle for the Hurricanes. And Mario Cristobal and his staff been able to thrust Miami back into the top 5 for the first time in quite a while here. And they feel like one of the current examples of a team, of a program, utilizing not only the historic brand of what we think about with the U, but also the new rules adjustments, what name, image, and likeness can mean for athletes to be able to capitalize on their own personal brands there. And Mario Cristobal is sort of the consummate organizer. He's a guy who pays attention to every detail. So him taking that Miami program over, the details of how they capitalize on NIL a big part of why they've had such success in this recruiting cycle, in addition to he's bringing in two of the top offensive linemen in the country like he did when he was at Oregon. He wants to build infrastructure on the line of scrimmage. Samson Okunlola, we saw him celebrating a moment ago after moving defenders off the ball. He'll get an opportunity to do that for Cristobal on South Beach.
In tune with your commentary there, that's Nathaniel Joseph, who will play at Miami. One-time Clemson commits, and he went in large part because of Mario Cristobal when he came in, because when he committed to Clemson, Mario wasn't the coach there. He certainly changed the game for him. We have no quarterbacks in the game now. In the backfield, that is Nathaniel Joseph. Takes the snap to the right side. I think he's going to win that race across the stripe. Yes, he does. Same play they just ran for a 2-point conversion. And it works for a touchdown there.
Mark Fletcher was the lead blocker in both of those scenarios. Peyton Kirkland, able to be the road grader that he is, on his way to Austin. Play for offensive coordinator Kyle Flood, the Texas Longhorns, and the Steve Sarkisian. Mark Fletcher for the U. All right, there's not another running back, Paul, whose film has as many outstanding blocks as the film of Mark Fletcher. So I just love the fact that a highlight tape not only had his great carries, but his outstanding blocks as well.
Running back at 6'2", 225, getting good blocks.
Better hope so.
Good work. Some issues there, major issues there with the snap. And that was a disaster from the start. Hopefully he won't see that at the University of Illinois. Joseph with a touchdown. I don't know if we've ever seen a game with over 50 points, but the East has a 55-10 lead.
There's many great talented players that have played in this game. I'm proud to be on the list.
Special to me, you know, being from Iowa, not many people get this chance to do this. A great opportunity to play against some of the top guys in the country.
It's the greatest game to play with the best talent. Everybody's competing, everybody wants to be the best they can be.
The best players playing the All-American Bowl.
Are you ready for this?
Hey, what's going on, everyone? I am WWE Global Ambassador Titus O'Neil, and I just wanted to take a moment to congratulate each and every one of you for being selected to this year's 2023 All-American Bowl.
Titus, thank you. The road to WrestleMania begins right here with Royal Rumble. 30 men, 30 women will compete for championship matches at WrestleMania. Watch Royal Rumble live from the Alamodome, January 28th at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific. And watch every WWE premium live events only on Peacock. You understand why they would want that event right here in San Antonio. We've been here so many times, and each and every time fans greet us, embrace us, and I would imagine they will do the exact same thing when the WWE comes to town.
I had an opportunity to meet the mayor last night and just discuss what a great city this is for events in general. There's some of the spectacular event cities in the country. San Antonio towards the top of that list.
And a good return by Malik Elzy, who will play at Illinois, as he told us earlier in this first half with his declaration. For more on San Antonio and the crowd here, let's go to Marty.
Well, hey, Paul, talking about the WWE, check out who is in the crowd here today. Goldberg is hanging out. Yeah, signing autographs on the sidelines. His son, Gage Goldberg, was at the Combine, and he told me earlier, he said, football is what gave me my life. He said, I learned everything from football, but watching this game at home and then being here in San Antonio just blew me away how organized the Combine was. Gage, probably going to be in the game next year. Now, Lewis and I have talked to some pretty famous people on the sidelines over the years. Jack Nicklaus, Mike Golick, and now we can add Goldberg to the list. He'll probably be here next year, too.
But watch out, Marty.
Uh-oh, for what?
Well, he might ask who's next.
Oh,
yeah. Be on that list.
Good point, yeah.
Tap it into your knowledge there, Ed.
Oh, yeah. I mean, back in the day, big Goldberg guy. I was a Hulkamaniac, in The Rock, you name it.
Macho Man.
All of them.
Seems like you were doing more than a little bit.
Oh, back then, quite a bit.
Good recall. It'd be good to have that event down here at the end of the month. Inside of 4 minutes now, this is Lincoln Kienholz, Ohio State quarterback. Had one shining moment, great touchdown pass rolling out to his left in the second half. And he's been under all kind of pressure this entire game, and Ruben Owens tried to make it out to the left side. Whit Weeks, future LSU linebacker, chased him down. Good pursuit there.
Haven't been able to see Ruben Owens getting space because that's where he's most special. But the pursuit of this East defense just hasn't allowed it. You've seen guys getting off blocks over and over again. Players like Whit Weeks able to take the proper pursuit angle and just make sure that as the line of scrimmage is getting controlled by their front seven, they don't allow the playmakers from the West to have any opportunity for open grass.
Ruben Owens says when he gets to College Station, got to spend a lot of time in the weight room. He knows what's coming in the SEC. Good cutback to the middle out across the 45. Texas A&M top recruiting class last year, not in the top 10 this year. Wasn't the season that Jimbo Fisher wanted in College Station, but he does have the top running back in this class right there coming his way.
Development will end up being so key. There's a lot of youth in the lineup for Texas A&M coming off of last season. So that #1 ranked recruiting class, a lot of those players, defensive linemen. The line of scrimmage, playing as a true freshman, I did it at the University of Iowa. Being 17 years old, wrestling around with big guys who've been in the weight room a few years longer than you, there can be a task to make sure you're physically prepared for it. I do anticipate Texas A&M will be a different-looking ball club this coming fall than they were this last.
Hey, Whit Weeks having a series here. Second time in the backfield there to bring down Quentin Joyner.
Love showing your wares as a linebacker, showing the pursuit, the opportunity to chase down speedy ball carriers in the open field, and especially when your defensive front is able to control the line of scrimmage in the way that this East defensive front has been able to in this ball game today.
Quentin Joyner checks out. Ruben Owens out of El Campo, Texas, back in now. Inside at 2 minutes left. East has been in control from the start. They scored the first time they had the football. Good hole for Owens off the left side, just inside of East territory now. Clock will continue to tick. Player of the year, National Player of the Year, the top-ranked safety in this class, Caleb Downs, brother of Josh Downs, running back, wide receiver at North Carolina. Had an interception earlier and makes the stop. Downs slow to get up. We've had 7 declarations already, couple in this half to Louisville. One more to go out of Waco, Texas. Jelani McDonald is all set to fill.
Peacock.
Jelani McDonald, Waco, Texas. You know I look good in all of it. But which one really my style? Decision time.
Okay, we are ready now for our final declaration of this game, and we're ready to celebrate Jelani McDonald out of Connolly High School, Waco, Texas. Look at this family, ready to go. All right, folks, this is a true athlete here in the state of Texas, and I mean he can do it all. Quarterback, defensive back, he's playing corner in this game. Basketball and, of course, track and field. He is the state record holder in the triple jump, 48 feet 2 inches, so you can really put it out there, and he's going to try and do that one more time before he leaves to play for college for one of these teams right here. His family is here. Mom, Shaisha. His dad, LaMarcus, was a running back at TCU. He's back here, a linebacker. Uh-oh, we got a TCU hat up here as well. Maybe there's pressure. Stepmom and stepdad, brothers and sisters, and everyone is here ready for the big moment. Jelani, you've had a great week, a great game here, and now the moment has arrived. So we have 3 acts. We got Texas, TCU, and Oklahoma State. And we know that the Texas schools are fighting to keep you in state. So where are you playing your college football?
Well, first and foremost, I want to thank God. Then I want to thank all the pretty ladies that came out to support. So I appreciate y'all. But now, though, for the next 3 to 4 years, I'll be going to Texas University.
Staying in state for the Longhorns of Texas.
Man, it's a blessing. It's a blessing, man. We in this time.
So why Texas? Very close to Waco. Tell us why this is the best place for you.
I feel most comfortable there. You know, it's not too far from my mom or nothing. You know, so it's just where I was just most comfortable with being there, you know. So,
what's the week been like for you, and now to round it out with your family to declare for this school?
Man, so, I don't even know. I'm sorry. I ain't got no comment for them.
The emotion is getting over my thing, so let's celebrate him now. Jelani McDonald heading to Texas, and his family's excited about it. Congratulations.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yo, this is going to make Texas the #3 class in the country. This is going to move them ahead of Miami. Now, we still have 3 weeks until the final national signing day, but this will move the Horns into the 3 spot behind Alabama and Georgia, pretty much solidify their spot at the top of the Big 12 rankings with the pickup of Jelani McDonald.
With Texas at 3, a completion for a first down. And Brandon, it's really no surprise to see Alabama 1, Georgia 2, but how surprised are you to see Texas at 3?
Well, we used to see that all the time under Mack Brown. We didn't see it as much under Tom Herman and Charlie Strong, but now Steve Sarkisian is able to get the Horns back to where they have been recruiting historically, and this is a great class for them to come off the best season they've had under Sark with a #3 class in the country, and it's only going to get better in future years.
So the Alamo Dome spins both ways here for Texas. They had the loss in the Alamo Bowl at the end of December, and a big win right there. Home run shot down the middle of the field. Perfectly thrown ball. And a touchdown for the West. Cordell Russell, thinking about the state of Texas, will play at TCU. The Horned Frogs on our mind for what's coming up for them on Monday night.
Beautiful pass by Lincoln Keenholz as well. Finally had a clean pocket to operate out of, just enough time. Hits that back foot, sees the matchup, and delivers it downtown to his playmaker. He threw a really catchable ball, had nice touch on it. Be able to feed it out there too.
As we used to say in the meeting room, you caught it twice, huh?
It's a really pretty pass.
They all count for 6. Huge weekend for TCU coming up. The national championship game on Monday nights. And by the way, Cordell Russell, wide range of skills. Not only plays football, hoops, and track and field. How about the other position this wide receiver plays in football? Rush end. You don't see that combo that often.
Not too frequently, no. But you understand, with all the speed that we've already seen rushing off the edge for both teams, you can certainly add that to it.
Extra point is good. We go back to the sideline to Marty Snyder.
Yeah, with John Miller, the president of acquisitions and partnerships for NBC Sports, because it's time for the MVP trophy. John, I'm shocked. It's Dante Moore with 4 touchdowns today.
Great performance. Well, I'll tell you, made everybody proud. A lot of luck to you at UCLA, and thanks very much. Congratulations.
There you go. Dante Moore with the MVP. You told me you wanted a Trevor Lawrence-like performance today. Boy, did you deliver, but did you expect 4 touchdowns?
I truly didn't really expect that, to be honest. I mean, you know, shout out to my O-line, first of all, for keeping me clean in the pocket, and the receivers I have on the outside of me in a great backfield. But the receivers I have are, you know, going to top schools, and I really appreciate them, and all we've been practicing hard, and we just had a great time, and I've put out a great performance.
Hold up your left wrist. You have #3, or your right wrist, #3 DH. How much were you playing for him today?
Right, so, you know, it's a huge tragedy that happened all across the world, and especially in the football community. And really, as me being an athlete, I know how serious it can be, you know, playing on a football field. And, you know, you can possibly lose your life in one play, but, you know, I just want to really pray for him and really pray for, you know, him to get back recovering fast. And that's why I've been wearing on my wrist, especially on my right hand, because that's really the main hand I really use on a football field.
All the players here thinking about him. And how about the performance, though, from Dante Moore? 4 touchdowns, so impressive, headed to UCLA, Paul.
Hey, Marty, thank you very much. John and Dante, thank you guys as well. And those 4 touchdown passes, again, he did it right away. The first drive, the second drive, he didn't waste any time living up to the fact that he's the #1 ranked player in this game.
It's not like the pass protection was always stellar either, but so you saw the full scope of skills on display for Dante Moore, both under duress, in a clean pocket, decisiveness, mobility.
And the stars of the PGA Tour come out swinging as the new year starts with a bang. And last year's Tour champions, 3rd round coverage of the Century Tournament of Champions is coming up next on NBC. We could have got some rounds in this week here in San Antonio.
We should have, man, with the way the weather has been this week.
Mid-70s, perfect.
Yeah, I mean, it's always nice, but it was exceptional this week, certainly by comparison to what it's been like in other pockets of the country in recent weeks.
Darius Redmond right there out of Powell, Tennessee. One of the few players in this game still uncommitted. They expect him to be a later signee coming up sometime in the spring.
It's a level of patience that not every program, not every recruit still has with the way the process ends up playing out at this point. But as I always try to continue reminding people, every recruit has their own path, has their own journey to end up making the final decision that suits them. A lot of fan bases get rather upset when folks decommit. Had the opportunity to talk to Caden Proctor the other day about what went on with him. He committed from the University of Iowa, alma mater. But in the end, you got to do what's best for you.
Big Ant, we've got an offensive lineman who is split out wide. That is Hayden
He tried his
Kirkland.
best. Tried his best.
He's trying to. Didn't quite work out. Austin Fritzaira, who will play at Holy Cross, a late ad this week, and that would have been fun had that worked out. Hey, it's fun anyway to see an offensive tackle streaking down the left side. And that's going to be it. Final thoughts here, Ant, from the 12th All-American Bowl we've done together.
These competitors on the field, so many of them will be heading to campus tomorrow. It's been nice to see them one last time as high schoolers. Now we look forward to every step in the process towards their greatness.
To all the success they have coming up on Saturdays and Sundays. Tomorrow night, on the regular season finale of Sunday Night Football, the Lions head to Green Bay to take on the Packers. The final playoff spot will be on the line. Coming up next on NBC, it's the third-round coverage of the Century Tournament of Champions. For our entire crew, I'm Paul Burmeister saying thanks for being with us in San Antonio for the 2023